Hey yo, it's me. It's me. It's the RAV. What's up, everyone? It's the RAV back to do the Heelcast this week. Almost two in a row. I don't know if anyone that I think is very small amount need to listen. I actually did an addition to the Heelcast last week, which is my return for the first time in a long time. But I did say that we were going to try and put out more Heelcast contests and kind of apologize for it. So we got our Bound for Glory review show. And we've also got kind of going over all the crazy hot news that's been going on in Impact Wrestling right now. A lot of it not so good, some of it pretty good. But look, joining with me is someone that many of you may know from such programming as Bound for Glory 2018. I have the Impact Dude with me tonight. Impact Dude, fresh out of Bound for Glory. I swear to God, you were shown on TV so much you would think that you were actually a debuting roster member. That like they put the name up on there and then they're like sure to show you 50 times in the crowd, so everyone remembers you. Bound for Glory.
Bound for Glory was great, man, and they definitely found some opportunities to show me in all of my glory, for better or at times worse. But it was a great show. It was a lot of fun. And I got to tell you something. They had a cameraman that was working our aisle because I was front row, and he literally was walking by and putting the cameras in our face. I say every 15 minutes or so. I don't think they use any of those shots. So God only knows what they did, but who knows? Maybe there'll be some vignette coming up or some commercial or something like that, and my sorry ass mug will show up on it.
It's funny because, like, obviously, one of the reasons why I actually had interest in watching this show, because as I said on my rant, for those of you listen, I wasn't very interested in the product at the moment, but I wanted to see the Impact Dude and Kyle because I knew you guys were both going to be there. Now, Kyle, I didn't see. I see you right off of the bat, and then it was just like, Jesus, man, like they are just there's Impact Dude overkill almost in the crowd. Favorite moment had to be though. Apparently, and I missed this because I'll be honest, like. I got a little bit distracted at times, that stuff going on and all that. But apparently, and maybe this is when I very briefly checked the Patriots and Chiefs game going on at the time. There was a Heelcast sign hanging out too. Is that did this actually happen?
There was a Heelcast sign. It did come out at one point in time, and I was trying not to raise the sign too high because you had people behind me trying to see. And at one point in time, a couple guys sitting down from me forgot to sit down. When everybody else sat down, they started a sit the fuck down chant, right? So I didn't need to sit your fucking sign down chant. But yeah, there was a Heelcast sign. It was made by my children. It was better than it would have been if I would have made it myself, mind you, but there was indeed a Heelcast sign.
I want to say thank you to the Impact kiddos or the Impact daughters, however you want to say it, for making the Heelcast sign. Much appreciated. Now, I didn't see Kyle. Kyle says he spotted himself a time or two now. Also, it's me and the Impact Dude, but we may actually get to see Kyle today. Hopefully, Kyle is going to be calling in at some point after he's done with his those responsibilities that pay his bills. So hopefully, we'll get Kyle on. We were going to get Hurls on the show to do another Hurls cast, but look, Hurls is being a coward. He's got some hood rat stuff to do, so Hurls is out of the show tonight. So it's going to be either a 2, possibly 3-man crew.
2.5. We're 2.5 men.
2.5 men.
2.5 men.
The Impact Dude, the RAV, and then the Impact Dude's third eye or third member, I should say, maybe.
I was thinking Hurls.
Hurls?
Hurls
is only half a man.
There, now you figured it out. It's called half a Hurls, dude. It's called half a Hurls.
I'm trying to think of some way to say, but I'm going to be honest, I'm going to fail with that. I mean, look, speaking of Hurls, Kyle, all that, look, we got the big extended Heelcast family now. For one, I always tell everyone to check out impactasylum.net, safe haven for Impact Wrestling fans. Go out there, talk constructive criticism, get fanboyism in there, or just talk in a good, positive way, which is a good thing there. It's troll-free. That's always a plus. But also, the Heelcast family, we extend to a lot of different places. For one, I mean, we're talking about Kyle. Check out Kyle with the Total Nonstop Impact show. Very proud of Kyle. He's back on the Impact Lounge channel with my boy BQ. So be sure to look at that. Kyle's getting so much better. Just all his editing, all the stuff that he does, he makes it very entertaining. So not only am I going to be happy if he gets on, but then it's going to give us 2 people from Bound for Glory on this show. Of course, Robert, Wrestling Robert. Check him out at Robert Does Wrestling. Robert's turning out a shitload of programming for what I see too. So Robert's going to keep you updated. He's got these cool things going on where he talks, counts down like Impact wrestlers, like their top matches in Impact and so forth. I know Robert has tried to get me to do some. I've just been way too busy, but hopefully I can step on and do that with Robert at some point.
You know, the last 2 times that I've been on the show, I've called him out because he owed me a couple of matches for EY. And last week, as I was doing the show, he actually sent them over. So at this point, I owe him his EY countdown, and I got no excuses. At this point, it's on me. So, Robert, I'll have it for you next week, buddy, when I get back from vacation.
I love it. And Robert's talking about doing a Raven and a Christian Cage show, so that'd be cool to do. So check that out. Hopefully you'll see that. Shit, we're still trying to get those Heelcast nostalgia shows of the 2008 and 2009 that I thought we'd have about 2.5 months ago done. But, you know, RIV's busy, baby. Should also check out Robert with Impact Wrestling Bitter Ex-Boyfriend Chef. Also some other dude of Latin American descent on the Impact Bodega. And also check out our boy Larkin at the S&M show. I'm sorry, not Robert, but Larkin. Shit, man, Larkin and I, we did that Ravens rant. Now, the thing is, the first show that him and I did was actually probably an hour and 15 minutes, which I expected was going to be no more than a half hour max. And that was a pretty good show, although Larkin puts out so much content and does so much stuff, he couldn't save the file. So then we had to redo it. It was just me. I already lost my voice. I already lost my drive. But then him and I did a Marilyn Manson podcast, too, for his show. So, I mean, check that stuff out. Larkin talks wrestling and literally everything else. He just interviewed some hot porn star that's going to be up on there. Impact Dude's kind of salty on that.
I'm very salty on that, damn it. He promised me a long time ago that he would get me on with a porn star, and he's now done 2 of them, Raven Effect, and he has screwed me over both times. I'm the one taking it in the ass, and I don't think that's the way this is supposed to roll.
I'm pretty sure that porn star is the one that's supposed to be taking it in the ass, but...
Right?
Now, shit, I mean, you had FK9 on, a little just, I didn't get to talk to FK a little bit, but is FK9 is he still doing anything right now, as far as show-wise?
He's got his own podcast that he's building up another channel, right? So he's been working on that. I don't think he's been doing much with Impact.
Okay, so he's not doing the wrestling thing, really?
Not that I've seen, man. Not that I've seen. But he's doing better, which is great to see, FK9 back at his peak.
Yeah, it is. Great dude. I was really excited and happy to see that you guys went out and got FK9. I think we need to get him on the Heelcast a lot more often, especially because, we hardly ever get a show out. And when we do, it's we should basically rename the show the Hurls Cast, because if it weren't for Hurls, I don't know that we would actually have an Impact or a Heelcast out in the past 3 months. So
I think we should have done that anyway.
Yeah. I mean, Hurls covers not only that, but all those stupid Twitch shows that 13 other people watch. Hurls gets you the podcast for those too. So
okay, chef.
I'm just keeping it real. All right, so am I missing any of our Heelcast family, any shows, anything like that?
I mean, I think you covered a lot of shows, man.
We get around. We've got quite the extended family there, so check us all out. Now, let's go ahead and hop into the news, because there is a lot of it. Now, the first thing, it came out last week. Good old Double J, Jeff Jarrett, he did something, I don't know, another lawsuit or extended some. Basically, it sounds like the same old shit, and just like GFW, I'm just gonna say this: nobody here gives a fuck. So we're not even gonna touch this because it's not news. It's stupid. It's the same thing. Seriously, just let him have the goddamn GFW anthem tapes, or amp tapes or whatever, so he can try and sell them to Vince and get this Global Force Entertainment going. Nobody cares, Jeff.
I have a great way for them to solve this entire debacle with him and those fucking GFW amp tapes, right? Just give him one front row seat to Impact when it airs from Nashville at the Asylum. Call it even.
There you go. That's true. So, I mean, I guess...
or maybe they can just let him stand in the back.
Do you even think they'd recognize him there anymore?
I'm just saying.
I mean, GFW's that real, man.
Those amp tapes aren't worth shit, dude.
They're not. And like I said, the best thing on those entire tapes is the promo that Chael Sonnen cuts on Jeff Jarrett and Karen, that was literally probably one of the better wrestling promos I've seen, which, surprise, surprise, the RAV was calling how good Chael Sonnen would be. But, I mean, he takes a shot about your Karen Jarrett's out here spending so much money around here, might as well start calling you Dixie. And, like, asks her, like which one of the guys she's going to get with next after he breaks Jeff Jarrett's bank. So, it was pretty good stuff. And speaking of Chael, that sucked. So my man Chael Sonnen got beat. So that broke my heart. But Khabib stomping out Conor McGregor did. Got to get my MMA plug in there,
So he lost to Fedor.
He got crushed pretty bad by Fedor.
Oh, wow.
But you got a heavyweight against the middleweight. I mean, I wasn't really expecting Chael to win. And for, a middleweight getting crushed like that, slugged so hard by a heavyweight and getting knocked down, I mean, that was probably the most fight I've seen Chael put up. So I give the guy props.
How many rounds did it go? Because I didn't see it.
It went almost half of one round.
Almost half of one round. Well, that's not too bad.
But he put up a better fight than Conor McGregor did.
Fuck Conor McGregor.
Now, we're going to get into some real news about Impact Wrestling, and this one's real bad in a way. So, look, rightfully so, if you've seen the Mexico tapings, Impact's rating's a bit in the shitter. For lack of a better words, last week it was, I believe, an all-time low, 183,000, and that's the go-home show for Bound for Glory, for fuck's sake. So they did not make the cable TV top 150, and then the next news is that Impact is now out of prime time. Is it an hour later that they're kicked back, or is it 2 hours?
2.
Kicked back 2 hours. Not necessarily the death slot, but they're pretty fucked. What time is it coming on the East Coast?
10
p.m.
10 p.m.
Which, I'm not even going to lie, I have no idea what time Impact comes on here on the West Coast because I always DVR it because I'm always at work at the time. Needless to say, especially for a network is low and not popular or turning out great programming as Pop TV, to move them to that time slot, it's not a good sign. Moved out of prime time. Here's two things that I want to say that could benefit Impact, because look, I'm just going to be honest. Just let me tell all you fanboys out there that are thinking whatever reason that this is a good thing and it's planned in Impact, which they didn't. This is kind of a punishment, probably phasing them out. Two benefits that they have is, one, the NFL is on right now, which is the most popular sport in the United States by far. They're directly up against the NFL every time. This is going to take time out of that to where, people aren't tuning in to watch the NFL game. That could benefit Impact a lot. Granted, ESPN still airs college football on Thursday nights too, which is also highly popular. So, I mean, they'll still have to compete with that because the college football game starts later. And the other thing too is, I mean, I look at what's also not on primetime that I really enjoy watching, and is also pretty popular. American Horror Story, Tosh.0, South Park, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, all very good shows, funny stuff. They don't come on at that because they're adult, and language on there, like in This Is Network TV, you hear fuck, you hear cunt, you hear all this bad language. This gives Impact the opportunity to take advantage of that and become a more adult program, more adult theme and oriented, to cater to a different market, to be different than what you see not only on Impact, but shit on like WWE, everything else out there. I think Impact really needs to take full advantage of this and make it more a little adult themed and oriented as far as, language, content. Basically, what I've been saying is go full blown ECW, and I always have to say this, nothing but hardcore matches, although use that as a benefit that you can show, but just more adult themed, us against the world, maybe some sexual tension, whatever. I think these are the only two benefits that may help the company in this situation. But I mean, Impact, dude, your thoughts on the fucking time slot punishment?
All right, so I probably couldn't disagree with you more, probably on either point, sadly, because I'd like to agree with you. A couple things. First of all, I am not an NFL ratings guru. I am not going to claim to be an NFL ratings guru. What I am going to say is, Raven Effect, what is the most exciting time in an NFL game? What's the most exciting quarter?
Good point. The fourth, unless it's completely a blowout.
All right, the fourth quarter is usually where people, at least like me, that I watch the NFL, not as much as I used to, but I do watch the NFL. Usually really like, oh, there's a game on. Let me catch the end of it. Because the middle is just kind of like, the middle. Well, that game usually ends right around 11:30 or so Eastern time. Which means that, I got to remember to turn Impact on for the last half an hour. But by that point, I've already DVR'd it anyway. All right? So, I don't know that I necessarily see that as a benefit so much. I think it's wishful thinking. Might help them a little bit, in the Central and Mountain time zones where it's still like 9 to 11. But if it starts at 10, dude, I ain't staying up to 12 to watch the end of it. I'm usually trying to get to bed around 12, and I get up at 6. So you can just say I'm going to be DVRing at least the last hour of it. As far as your other point about them making the content, not PG, but be PG-13 or 14 or whatever the heck it is. I disagree with that too, because if the idea is to get a better network and a better time slot, and that's what their product looks like, that's what they're selling to the other network. So to me, if they do that, then they're going to relegate themselves to late night forever. And so that's the big thing. Now, you and I had heard rumors, they were very unsubstantiated, that that there could already be another TV deal in place. I think that the company that they hired was hired to help them try to find a TV deal. But one would think they've been working on that. They keep saying they're working on it. And they've said that in 2019, their big thing is going to be to raise ratings. Well, folks, I got a newsflash for you. In 2018, Impact Wrestling has turned into ROH Light. ROH does not get big ratings. They're a very popular promotion right now with a very vocal minority, and good for them. Like, there's no reason like we should be, dissing on that. But it's not your average fan because their product doesn't cater to their average fan. And they're also only a 1-hour TV show. Impact's tried to do it with a TV show that is 2 hours and a fan base which is completely different. And they have turned them away in droves. And they've done it because they have turned away from all the things that have made them successful in the past. So here's hoping that they get back to the formula that's been successful for them in the past and right this ship sooner than later.
No, I mean, and this is stuff I wanted to say, and it kind of goes into your points and also feeding off them. I mean, for one, I'm not going to go ahead and pronounce them ROH Light because I don't think they're anywhere near that level. I think they've got a Lucha Underground concept, not only talent-wise, but also some vignettes that they're doing, which we'll probably talk a little bit later. And then some confusion. And I guess one thing I do want to say that frustrates me is, like, remember when TNA was a thing, like before Hogan and them came over and they had this identity and it really worked and everyone got over it? It's really not that hard just to go back to that identity. My main frustration is, like, well, why can we just not go back to the way that it was when it worked that everyone still wants to see? But that said, I mean, look, I get what you're saying about, if it's more adult content, is the network going to want that? What they're going to have to do to make any fucking network want them, which I honestly don't think is the case, is that they're going to have to garner ratings. And honestly, I think if they were to go this edgier route, that's going to garner ratings. I mean, shit. I think of the shows that I mentioned, like none of that is going to be family friendly or anything like that. I mean, shit, have you seen American Horror Story? It's sex all the time, C words, F words, unedited. I mean, but it works. It gets good ratings. It gets people involved. I mean, shit like The Walking Dead. You're stomping on zombies' heads, killing them, all that stuff. I mean, it's very violent. If they can raise ratings, that's what they have to do. But the product has to get better. And now, one thing, actually, what? I'm going to save that point for a little bit later. But it's funny because you bring up ROH, and I feel this way with Impact Wrestling. They always have this thing like, oh, it's the champion that draws the ratings or whatever. It's not the case. It's not. That was true with maybe like Hogan and Goldberg and fucking The Rock and Stone Cold and whatnot. Wrestling doesn't really work that way. It's a product overall. It doesn't matter who the champion is. I mean, you think Ring of Honor for one time in their entire existence had any star power? You know what I mean? Does Ring of Honor, their fan base or whatever, do they not show to the shows because who's champ? They don't give a shit who's champ. It's Ring of Honor product. It's the same with Impact. Impact Wrestling itself is what's going to draw viewers in. It doesn't matter who the champ is or anything. I mean, like if they put it on that James Ellsworth guy or something, that's different. But they've just got to get the product better. And I'm just going to be honest with you now because, yeah, we did hear from a very unreliable source, that the Impact probably does have another TV deal in mind. I don't buy into that at all, but like the thing that I've been asking is just who fucking wants them? And I'm sorry for sounding salty or being a buzzkill for a lot of people out there. Who wants them? This is their third fucking network. They got kicked off of Destination America for fuck's sake. Like, honestly, and the ratings keep tanking. Like, what can you say or do that is gonna make people think, oh, if we bring these guys on, they're gonna hit these huge viewers? No, your ratings keep dropping when you need them to raise. And the Mexico tapings were complete shit. And on top of that too, I mean, and it's funny too because like I hadn't touched Twitter in probably like 6 months, but I got on there, not only last night, but a couple days prior, and I see these Impact fans that are sending out these polls. What network would you like to see Impact on? I see one guy respond to another guy and say, "Oh, I already had my poll, and the CW won out." This other guy, his poll options were WGN, TNT, Sci-Fi, and like some other big time network, and it's like, you stop being fucking delusional.
ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and let's throw ESPN in there for good measure.
It was just, if anyone thinks they have a chance in hell for going on TNT or Sci-Fi or some big, or Paramount was the other one, the old Spike. If anyone out there thinks they have a chance in fucking hell, you make Hurls look like Chef, for fuck's sake. Nobody wants this. No, like, here's their potential options.
Hey, Raven Effect.
What's that?
I was told Chad Grimgrave says turn your mic off. And yeah, he said turn it up. Yeah. And he also said he could hear me eating. Yes, I was eating popcorn. You do a show with Raven Effect, you need to pull out the popcorn, buddy. But it's all done now. It's gone. My wife ate half of it. Damn her.
I will, hopefully this works a little bit better. Sorry, Chad, but thanks for the head up there.
Yeah, appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm using this for the first time, so I'm not too sure if I know how this works. But look, here's they can possibly stay with Pop TV. Can you still hear me out here?
Oh, that's way better now, buddy. It's way better.
That's weird because I can barely hear you now, but if it's way better, that's what matters. Look, if they can stay with Pop TV, the WGN America may be a possibility because they show like some fucking indie company program that I've never heard of. If they can get a TV deal, I'm sure Impact probably can on there too, because people know what the fuck that is. Some people do at least. Or we're looking at something like the BN network where they have where they air MLW, which I don't have on my cable package. Or I mean shit like Lucha or El Rey network or something that shows Lucha Underground. If we're expecting a better TV deal, like a better network, you're out of your fucking mind, except for maybe this WGN thing. Harsh reality. I don't know if you have anything to add on to that.
Originally when it came out, I told everybody, just hang tight. Let's see what happens at Bound for Glory, because let's face it, if by some stroke of luck that Jericho had showed up at Bound for Glory and the Bucks had called out LAX for the cruise. Okay, and I'm not suggesting that, even anybody wrestled, but just they showed up. You could say to yourself, well, maybe they've got some of these guys in the bag. Maybe the Elite has decided that they're going to stay as independents, and Impact is one of the places they're contracted to for the next year or two, right? And all of a sudden you're saying to yourself, they're bringing star power. They're bringing buzz. At that point, you could say, they've pretty much just been in a holding pattern waiting for this stuff to go down for the last couple months and let the show kind of slide, and they're just being punished by Pop because they've told Pop that they're leaving. I would have been inclined to think that had that happened, but I got a newsflash for you, man, that didn't happen. And nobody showed up at the tapings. And so now the question is, well, when would you expect somebody to appear? Well, you could say, well, the Bucks and Cody are under contract till the end of the year, so maybe they can't. But Jericho could have shown up, and Jericho could have got everybody talking, and you would have thought that Bound for Glory would have been the time to do that. So I really think had they made some form of a big splash, we could probably say maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe there is another TV deal or whatnot. But the fact that nothing happened at all and we got treated to James fucking Ellsworth, right, kind of makes me take pause and go, this is the way Impact's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk the Jericho thing shortly. It was a disappointment. I'm going to say this right now. Anyone that, I'd never heard until maybe a couple days before in our chat anything about the Young Bucks showing up by any means or Cody. Let me just go ahead and say this now to anyone out there that maybe a little too high on Impact and thinks that everyone wants them. There's a 0% chance that the Young Bucks and Cody will ever show up, and probably even into the negative numbers now, considering it sounds like Don Callis and New Japan are wrapping up. The last point that I do want to make, and this is actually a positive thing here about the programming, is when I did the rant, I brought up the similarities in 2017 to 18 is that we had a very good product go into Slammiversary both years and have a really good Slammiversary that delivers, and then the product between Slammiversary and Bound for Glory just really shit the bed. And I thought like the Toronto tapings or whatever was all just meh, like not bad but nothing good that stood out, and then we end up with these Mexico tapings. Just to be honest, we're flat out terrible. But if you remember after Bound for Glory last year, the shows were awful. Like, I don't think I'd actually kind of given up. I stopped watching, stopped caring, stopped giving a shit. I was down on this company as I could have ever been, because it was like, you know what, I just don't care anymore. When the new regime came in, I got a little bit excited. Now, I want to say that I had been avoiding spoilers for the past couple tapings because I wanted to see how it would be. The last 2 nights I caved and decided, you know what, I want to see what's going on because of this situation we're going to talk next. I want to hear what's going on with these tapings. I will tell you right now, without seeing any of this product, these tapings that we just had are going to deliver. It's going to be drastically better than anything we've seen since Slammiversary. These are going to deliver. These sound good. There's some consistency. There's not a bunch of throwaway talent. We're getting an actual Impact roster being featured. So props there. I'm excited. Impact Wrestling fans, look, it doesn't matter. Like, we have to tune in. We got to start tuning in, supporting them, because if we want them on a TV deal, it doesn't matter fucking where. If we want them on TV ever again, we need to start tuning in. And these tapings are going to be worth it, in my opinion.
They do look much improved. Honest to God, they do look much improved. Bear in mind, though, that they got a lot of talent from the New York area. So, even if you just think about people like, like Rich Swann, he's a Baltimore guy. Sue Young's his wife, right? Followed by KM. KM, by the way, was very, very, very visible throughout Bound for Glory. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But those are some more New York guys that are already on the main roster. So they had better opportunity in New York than they did for sure in Mexico. Just cheaper to get people there.
No doubt. And I think there was one other thing I wanted to say that I felt was important that I wanted you to point out, but I can't remember it at this time. So I think we're going to move on to the, which is actually probably somehow a hotter topic and bigger conversation than what we have going on with the TV deal. So, A-double Austin Aries is it work? Is it shoot? There's a lot of speculation on this. So the word is, and Petey Williams had said this on a podcast or interview, that Aries' contract is up. It Bound for Glory at the end of that match. It was very, very odd. Aries obviously no-sold Johnny's move. Talked some trash to Don Callis, flipped him off, walked off, flipped off the fans. Everyone looked a little bit confused, and he was gone. Now, we've heard from a more reliable source than we were told about with the new TV deal in place, but still not a credible source that this is a work, and that Aries and Callis were in on this together, and they've been trying to fool the locker room and work the locker room, which upset the locker room, reminded them of the old TNA management would have done. We've heard stuff that that it's not a shoot, that it's actually a work. Aries is under contract, whatever. He's going to be popping back up at some point. They're trying to do a loose cannon thing, very similar to Brian Pillman. And the only credible source that we've read was from PW Insider, and what PW Insider has said is that a lot of things had to be rewritten, and all that stuff had to be because Austin Aries had packed up his bags, flew home to Las Vegas, and they had to do a bunch of rewrites. Now, everyone's talking, is it work? Is it shoot? It sounds like the vast majority of fans are thinking that this is a work. I'm not sure. I'm going to give my thoughts a little bit later. And we're going to talk about this Hall of Fame induction. We're going to start there soon. But anything you want to say before we get there, Impact Dude?
Yeah, the latest that I read said that they're claiming that they're trying to do a Pillman type of loose cannon thing with him, and the plan was to have him show up on other shows like, Ring of Honor and whatnot, and badmouth the company, and then show up again. That's the latest that I read. I did read about them rewriting the show. Here's the thing: they had to rewrite shows on the fly in the past. They had to do it when Alberto kind of flew the coop, right? They've had to do it a few other times with people randomly not showing up because they left the company or they got injured. And the shows have always suffered. They've never had a good flow. Am I right or not? You agree with that, Raven Effect?
I think for the most part, yeah.
So if these shows come off like they're really smooth, then I'm going to say that there's no doubt in my mind that it's a work and creative knows. There is no way that this is a shoot, okay? Or that this is not a shoot. This is a work, and they didn't let creative in on it. Just screwed with creative. They screw with the locker room, but they're not going to screw with creative. So that means that, and they're not going to, Scott D'Amore is going to be in on it. He's not going to be held back, right? And him and Sanjay are going to know what's going on, and they're going to have shows written along with Jimmy Jacobs that can deal with it. I just don't buy the fact that this is a work and they didn't tell creative, and I think we'll be able to tell in the product. And Andre says hi. Hey Andre, how you doing, bud? Shout out to our boy Andre.
Corbio?
So
Andre still got the suspended YouTube or Twitter account. What's up with that?
I have no clue, man. I'm never on Twitter. He can have my account. He get me suspended. I never even knew the difference.
So like, I'm gonna say this is a little bit on the embarrassing side, but so, they did the Abyss Hall of Fame induction speech or whatever, and then they had the conflict with Austin Aries. Now, I can't remember what I was doing. I think I was at work that night. Yeah, it was Saturday, so I'm at work. And I think the first thing I saw, I think I just kind of glanced at my phone because I felt a vibrate or incoming message, and it was from you saying that something had happened on the broadcast with Aries started talking and then kept the cameras. Is that right?
No, because I was trying to. I was trying to watch it, and the whole thing froze up, and people started bitching, and then I was like, I got other things to do. I'll watch it later, and that was the extent of it. By the way, Andre says that he got banned for conservative-leaning politics. That does not surprise me.
Death to liberalism.
Yeah.
I mean that with all my heart, too.
I'm with you.
We don't talk politics on the broadcast.
No, we don't.
Vote liberal. So, look, I see that. So I knew something had happened or whatever, but I didn't really pay attention. And then I think what happened was, I think Larkin had said something, but I just figured, okay, it's your typical wrestling bullshit. I don't like that. It's a business night. Don't do a fucking stupid angle with it. And then I think I saw BQ post something or whatever. But then Larkin sends me the video to this thing, and it's late at night, and I just decide, you know what, fuck it, I'll watch it, see what everyone's talking about. How did this come off? But I watched this thing, and it's on someone's phone. They apparently cut the cameras, and everything about I see Aries do the speech. And I think, okay, you know what? This is the champion, being a locker room leader, giving, good wholehearted stuff about Abyss, which he deserves. And then, like, when he starts talking Johnny, and they get heated, and the F-bombs start flying, they cut the cameras. From this back angle, it looks like it's fucking legit. You don't see up close. But with the language, the way everyone was acting, this didn't look or feel like a normal pro wrestling, obvious, fake, phony, cheesy, like press conference, fight kind of a thing. It felt real from the distance. And now I had shut the video off because I was actually fucking convinced. So I text BQ, I text you guys, I text Larkin, I text someone on the Impact roster, for fuck's sake. A little bit embarrassing because I'm thinking this should actually happen, and this is fucked up for Abyss. I'm literally thinking this is doomsday, because how do you put these two fuckers out there and expect them not to kill one another? How is one of them going to just risk something, hurt the other in the ring? I think we'll see it. Brett and Sean did it. If they can do it, anyone can. I watched it again, and then the first thing I noticed is that I see Abyss consoling, hugging Taya, and I think this was phony. And then like I see Ed Nordholm fucking filming it, and it's like, okay, obviously stupid. I feel like an idiot, but this was really fucking well done. If they wouldn't have done those two things, this could have went over so much better. Because when that happened, it was obvious that it was a pro wrestling thing. They need to blur that line between pro wrestling and reality, and I think they could have done an absolutely flawless job of that. Now, when they showed on Bound for Glory with a closer camera than like the distant one, then it's blatantly obvious that it's a work. But like with the language and everything that's going on, they still did a good job. It did not feel like your wrestling thing, regardless. They escaped that. And I want to give Impact incredible fucking props for that. What did you think of this?
Oh, they did a fantastic job. Are you kidding me? It's so hard to make anything look real, and they actually did it. And you know what? Mad props. And I know that I've called him several things in the past, as you're aware. A vanilla midget being one of them. But Austin Aries pulled this off in an amazing way. Everything that he has done as a heel over the last week has just been truly outstanding heel work. Just amazing heel work. And that's exactly what he was in that conference, that press conference. You know, that he was just outstanding as a heel. He blurred the lines and he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. And let's face it, Johnny's done a great job too, but Johnny's kind of got the easier deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole thing about the Impact management making Aries pull down the tweets about Taya being husky and whatever, and Johnny getting all snowflakey and butthurt. That also made it a little bit more believable. I just wish that Impact, for them's sake, if they were going to show it on the broadcast like they did, show the the far away view angle of it, and if you would have cut it after Abyss consoling or Ed Nordholm's face, everything that he was doing, if this is technically a work, I mean, the press conference, the Hall of Fame was a work, but everything else, if it is, could go off so much better. One thing too, just real quick, that I want to say is, and I wanted to say this too about Austin Aries and his heel work and everything you've been talking about. Like, there's some guys that I just feel are so much better as either a face or a heel. Like Christian Cage, for example, I just think the guy always is just a much better face. And I felt that way with Austin Aries, except these Mexico tapings until now. He's done such a fucking phenomenal job as a heel. And on these tapings, as bad as they've been, like that stable him, Moose, and Cross, the unfuckwithable, you know what I mean? That stuff has been so good. And then you look back, if you just think of it overall, since Aries has been champ, I mean, Pentagon had it for, a couple of weeks?
That's about it.
Yeah. I think Aries has done the best character heel work of his entire career by a lot. And if you just look at his tenure as the champ, just good match after good match after good match, defending it a lot, on TV a lot, cutting good promos, good matches with the, Pentagon, with Impact, Fallah Bahh, Tejano, Eddie. Like, he's had a very good reign, and I think that went a little bit overlooked. But
I thought his reign was boring as all hell, and I'm not gonna lie. And I was so ready for it to be over. Sorry, man. I know that's your man crush there. Well, actually, Johnny's your man crush, but it just got old. I don't feel like the feuds were all that good. I don't think that anything was memorable. I thought the best parts of the card were the mid-card at that point. We were always more interested in what LAX and Sami Callihan were doing and Eddie Edwards than what we were about what was going at the top of the card. And I thought that was the biggest reason for the ratings drop. It was just the fact that there was nothing to look forward to at the end of the night because the main event was so blurred because half the time, like I said, it was OVE or LAX that were main eventing. They were supposed to be down in the mid-card. That was my biggest beef. There was no heat around it.
I'm not going to dispute that either because, like, at the time that it was going until and I'm talking like the past 2 or 3 weeks only, I felt the exact same way, and I still felt like every time you got done watching Impact, there was nothing to look forward to the next week. But I think the way that things ended those past couple of weeks with that stable, which I think was really starting to click on and do well, I think that one of those things where it goes back and justifies it and makes everything prior to that look a little bit better than it was. But no, I thought his reign up until about 2-3 weeks before Bound for Glory needed to come to an end because he just, had been going through the motions and doing the same shit for too long. But I feel like when we got there, I was thinking, like, I fucking hope Aries wins. I had another reason behind it, but the one thing, too, that I want to say here, too, is, if it's true that, like, they're trying to work the roster or whatever, if the report that the roster, thinks it's bullshit or whatever, the thing is, like, Aries and Cyrus, whoever's in charge of this, they have to work the roster. For this to work and to do something big that's going to get people talking and wondering what the hell is going on, you have to work the roster, because quite honestly, if you're not working the roster, then it becomes pro wrestling, because you're forcing that roster to do the pro wrestling reaction and act. And that's going to look like cheesy, shitty pro wrestling acting. Johnny's fucking reaction at the end of Bound for Glory. And if you look at Killer Cross after, when Aries gets up and does what he does, Cross just kind of stands there blank, like he has no fucking idea what to do next. That makes this work. I'm going to be honest, like, I don't know if this is a work or a shoot. I know, but it's wrestling fans. Everyone's out here saying it's a work. The same, literally everything is a work. These same wrestling fans think Khabib jumping into the stand is a work. They think fucking pro sports risking their entire reputation and ratings is a work, that it's the outcome is predetermined on who's going to win these games. I mean, I'm sorry. Look, there's some fucking fan base that watch too much damn wrestling and nothing else, and literally think everything is a work in stage or whatever. So if it turns out, like, all you wrestling fans, oh, I called it, you're really not doing something special, because you're not, you that's going to be your predetermined mind because of just too much wrestling overkill. They're doing an incredible job with this. If this is a work, I think they getting nowhere near enough credit if this is the case. And like I've seen people be like, oh, it sounds like Russo's got the book. This sounds like Vinny Russo got the book. No, it doesn't. This doesn't seem like a Vince Russo finish, because if it were a Vince Russo finish, it wouldn't be this fucking good. No offense to Russo. I liked, at least half of the guy's stuff. But it came off too pro wrestling and corny and cheesy. This came off to have this realistic feel. Like, they set the tone, and it's funny because I said, this feels like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, so they got in the ring. Callis kind of brought that up, and I feel like that was kind of the vibe they were going with Aries and Impact. And you know what? Props to them, because we haven't really felt or seen something like that, something that really worked and got that good heat like Bret and Shawn from back then too. But the other thing too, man, is I say it how many times on this fucking show about how much I love Brian Pillman, and I thought he was ahead of his time and a genius. Like, with Pillman, man, it's still to this day, no one really fucking knows if he was a genius and just working everyone, or if he was legitimately lost his fucking mind, or maybe a combination of the two. Like, Eric Bischoff was literally the only one that said, like, oh, I knew what was going on. Him and I had a conversation or whatever. You gotta, like, you can't completely ride and rip off everything Pillman did, but it's something that I have felt for years has needed to be redone. And I feel like this is almost a combination of Aries doing his Bret Hart thing where he gets pissed off. I mean, when he did that, it felt kind of similar to Bret, flipping off Vince after the Montreal screw job, and then destroying the equipment, and then backstage you hear about him punching Vince in the face and whatnot. It almost is a combination of, like, it has a feel of Bret Hart and Brian Pillman together, and I feel like Aries just made, if this is a work, Aries just made himself just a made man and something hot. And when this comes back, if they can keep doing this as good as they're doing, it's gonna be fucking fire.
Yeah, no doubt. Now look, there's somebody in the comments, somebody named Thorius Unlimited. Any idea who that may be?
Isn't that FK9?
That's FK9. That is FK9. FK9, if you're listening. He says that first of all, the problems are writing and not Aries, which you could definitely make that argument. I definitely got to give that one. The other thing you said is the whole NFL is a work. Raven, what are you smoking? All right. But we got another question. A great question here.
FK9 got beef.
You and FK9 got beef. I think you guys need to solve that beef here. The other thing is the Chris Steele show got a question. It says, who should replace Aries in that trio? And he thinks that splitting them would be a bad move. And I got to be honest with you, I think splitting them would be a terrible move too. But I would like to at least see it continue on as a twosome with Cross and Moose. And I got to tell you something. I think that Cross is a mega star, and that works. I think that guy is going to be absolutely just enormous. I think he winds up in WWE, and I think he winds up a main eventer. He's got an it factor to him, and he can go, he can talk, he can do everything, and he's got the incredible work ethic. So Raven Effect, what are your thoughts on who replaces Aries and what they do with those three guys, and then what this Thorius Unlimited / FK9 guy has to say?
So for one, you can't replace Aries, especially as high as he is right now and the stuff that he was doing. You can't get, look, I'm sorry, a guy that can perform the way that he does, you can't. I'm not being an Aries fanboy or dick rider. I'm keeping that real. Who should replace him? Jimmy Jacobs. Should Jimmy Jacobs ever wrestle? No. This is the manager of the mindset between these two guys. And you talk about Cross having that M factor and doing his thing too. He's really starting to stand out. But the Mighty Moose's character and all that, man, Moose is this heel turn as much as I didn't like it, just because for the simple fact, I get the whole, you didn't come see me in the hospital, man. They've done that a billion times over in wrestling. But for him to join Aries of all people made no sense. But Moose is fucking shining star right now, dude. Like his outfits, his persona, his pimp shit he had going on, like Moose is standing out on his own. Another part of me feels split them, but Cross with his devil tattoos and all that, put him with Jacobs, make a stable like the Heenan family, but put him with either Jacobs or James Mitchell, and you, or even the two of them at the same time, and then kind of get like a stable going, and not necessarily a stable, because I know wrestling fans hate that word, but I mean like the Heenan family or some shit like that. I mean Su Young, Congo Kong, some similar guys. And I mean, you think about bringing Lethal Lockdown back. I mean, you get a team like that together, something along those lines. But Aries can't be replaced. I think splitting the two of these guys up would be a big mistake right now, because I think both of them have main event potential. And shit, who knows? We might see a one-on-one match between both guys and Johnny. Main event of Homecoming might be Impact versus Moose versus Killer Cross, or maybe even Austin Aries as a fourth. Who knows? But something along those lines. And FK9, I love you, but we still got some beats.
No, I definitely see Cross as a guy that's going to stand on his own. Just if you watch him, he never leaves his character. Absolutely amazing character at all times. Total psychopath, and just nails it. Just absolutely nails it.
Now, Killer Cross has won me over too, because I said that I talked about I did a show with Larkin where we talked Marilyn Manson, Mechanical Animals. Killer Cross did a show, and I didn't even get the invite, but Killer Cross came on Larkin's show. They just talked the love of Marilyn Manson, his career, and all that. So you won me over with that, Killer Cross, for sure. Apparently, and the funny thing too, Larkin suggested to him on the show that him and Moose should go after the tag team titles, and Cross said, "That's cool, but I've got another title in mind." Maybe we got our answer now. Maybe Austin Aries is leaving the company.
Maybe he should, but I gotta tell you something. Cross was on our show, and Cross is a freaking star. He's amazing. You missed out on when he was on our show, and you missed out on him on Larkin's show. You get an opportunity, you should do a show with him. Guy's just a complete animal, just a complete animal. So I guess, awesome. yeah, he's awesome. So yeah, so definitely think I think Moose and Cross are great together. I think at some point in time they got to break him up. I think Moose deserves a little bit better than he's getting right now. I think they pushed him to the top and went, maybe you're not the guy, and they've kind of dropped him down a little bit. So it'd be nice to see Moose get built back up. Nice to see Cross get built back up. Maybe even put them against each other at some point. But for now, I say keep them together, and I'm hoping that we're able to... Oh, shit.
What?
Well, Full Killer 99's on. And he says, and I quote, Bret Hart was overrated. Brock Lesnar is the greatest fighter in the history of MMA. And football is not a real sport.
FK9 with the troll of the year. Get under my skin. He knows what he's doing. Someone does the RIV a little bit too well. He's I'm going to kill that fool, that's for sure. You don't talk about... I don't even know which one of the three is worse. I mean... Brett's my guy, but I mean, nothing gets me more worked up than these fucking fans would be like, if Brock Lesnar didn't get hurt, he'd be the greatest MMA fighter of all time. Those motherfuckers. So, good job, FK. Good job, buddy.
All right, so moving on.
FK9, your boy Robbie E sucks.
That'll show him.
So, you know what? Before we move on, there's one point that I want to make to all these, and this may have a little bit of a shot at the Impact dude, but look, all these people out here that are convinced this is the fucking work, all that. Let me just remind you, since 2013 or 14, how things have gone when not only is a wrestler asked for his release or wanted another contract under Anthem, but how many times just someone big has left the company and they thought it was a work. Impact, did you remember AJ Styles when everyone thought that was a work, including you, who claimed it for how many months?
You mean it's not a work?
I'm pretty sure we will never, ever see him in a Impact ring ever again.
Oh, no. He'll be back at some point. He'll be back before he retires.
You're out of your fucking mind.
He will come back to do a Hall of Fame ceremony or something like that. I'm not saying he's going to be back in his prime, but I don't know, man. You never say never. Never say never. This is professional wrestling. That having been said, I might be wrong about having thought that one was a work. It's possible. It's highly unlikely, but it is possible.
Too, you know? I mean, people thought when Storm or Magnus were leaving it was a work. There's been multiple instances where everyone thinks, no, this is a work, this is where it's not. Okay, this company has basically just let all their star power leave. It's almost felt like anyone that wants to leave can. Everyone's replaceable, and that's not necessarily the case at all times. So if you're that convinced of everything, just remember the fucking history. You know what I mean? So there's that. Remember, and everyone in fucking Aces and Eights was leaving, and people were like, I think it's a work. Like, no, motherfucker, like. And thankfully they were.
I wasn't that bad. I never worried about Magnus or Aces and Eights. I did call the AJ Styles thing. I did absolutely guilty as hell of saying that was all one big work. Would have made for a hell of a story, by the way.
For months.
I fought who?
I said you fought to your grave that was a work for months.
I did. I still am. Never give up.
All right, man. So, I mean, that covers that. A lot of things there. And keep in mind, too, I guess the last thing I want to touch on here. The source that we got that said, or that I've read that said this is a whole work and it pissed the roster off and all that. This is the same thing that said not only one, the Impact was trying to bring Alberto El Patron back, which that's already been debunked by credible sources being fake. This source also had claimed that Impact had offered James Ellsworth a contract, which he had turned down because he was very much on WWE's radar. The only credible source we've had was PW Insider, who said today that he was kind of a replacement because Plan A fell through, and that there was no foreseeable future with him and Impact or nothing coming up in the future. Doesn't mean that a contract was offered to us. So, I mean, it could be very easily 0 for 3, 2 for 3, 1 or 3, whatever. So, I'm taking everything with a grain of salt right now. Now to some good news. So, I don't know who this girl is. I saw a picture of her, but so Impact has signed new knockout. Name is Jordan Grace to the Knockouts roster. Apparently, it's a 2-year contract. I like the 2-year contract thing. So, who knows where this conversation may lead? But Impact, dude, your thoughts on this?
She's another one of those indie darling stars that a lot of the guys that are on Impact Asylum really like. And they're really hot up on her. They want her to be booked like the next Samoa Joe. Okay, she's a bigger gal. Am I allowed to say that, by the way? Because I know Austin Aries got away with it, but BQ just got destroyed for saying the wrong thing. It's kind of funny how that works. But yeah, she's a bigger husky gal. She's husky. That's it. You say she's husky, it's fine. She's a bigger gal. She's fit. I mean, let's face it. She looks like she's a very strong girl. Physically muscular or whatnot. And apparently she can wrestle some, and so she's the next great thing. But, I mean, these are the same people that were saying, who's the girl with the green hair? Who's that again?
Daphne?
No. They used her a couple shows again. FK9, yeah, FK9, you're out there. The girl with the green hair. They said she was the greatest thing. She's not the most boring thing I've ever seen on my TV show. So
that Shotzi Blackheart?
Shotzi Blackheart. Yes, that's who that is. So memorable, I forgot her damn name. But the bottom line is that these are the same people that said that Shotzi Blackheart is so great and she should be fighting for the title and whatnot. You know what? Somebody said on Asylum, I forget who it is, Raven Effect, maybe you remember because you've been around there, that guys, just chill with it for a second. Let her get over with the crowd. People outside of, you internet wrestling, independent, geeks that know everything there is to know about it, don't know who she is. Give her a chance to establish herself, and let's see what we've got. Can't remember who said that, but that person made a lot of sense.
Oh, I know exactly who it is. He's the greatest man that ever lived, the RIV.
Austin Aries said that?
No, the RIV. Even better. Yeah, it was me. Look, I mean, dude, you see these reactions and people like, holy shit. Like, okay, holy shit, really? Let's hold the fuck up just a minute. I mean, they talk like they just got fucking Ronda Rousey or some, like, huge name. That's going to draw needles. Look, I hope this girl's great. As obviously indie talent comes up to promotions for a reason. But it's like the hyping. They're already saying, let's start up for Tessa. That's the money. What's money about this girl that nobody fucking knows?
She's 22, dude. Like she's not established. She's 22. Yeah. And great for her. Great for her for being able to do it at such a young age. Hopefully we got ourselves a future star on our hands. I'm pulling for her. But to think that she's already going to move a needle, it's like, give me a break. She's still a baby. She's still in her infancy.
Exactly. Is it any bigger than Kira Hogan? Exactly. So, yeah, man, I mean, exactly what you said. I hope she's a star. I hope she's great. I'm always happy to see new talent in literally any division, unless it's the Desi Hit Squad. Hopefully she pans out and is something good. But I mean, people are already trying to anoint her and make her out of some star. Look, I'm sorry. Here's how Impact's fan base probably is. What's fucking left of it is people who have been watching for quite a few years now. You and I've been watching from the start. Some people have been watching since like the Hogan years or whatever. And if somehow you've stuck around since then, just even more fucking props to you. But there's that, and then there's like the hardcore, like really into fucking wrestling fan. The people that know like who all these indie wrestlers are. Not only are you a very, very, very small fucking portion of like the fans tuning in, just overall of their target audience, like no casual fucking fans know who the fuck this girl is, or even the goddamn fucking promotions she's wrestled for on the indies. And it's sort of like that. So I hope she works out. She's not some big needle mover right now. So please, just Asylum, you fans that make Hurls look like Chef, just pump your brakes a little bit, okay? That's all there is to it. So FK9, I'm sure FK9 probably knows who she is. I know FK9 follows, some of the female wrestling, indie promotions. Not all of them. We know FK9 actually has a life, but so there's that. So let's just hope she works out. We're not trying to sound negative on the signing. It's a very good one. So
yeah, nothing. They've got nothing bad to say about the signing at all, other than she's not God. Give her a chance to grow. Don't overbuild her. You're just going to be disappointed. But for crying out loud, this is a good thing. She apparently appears to be a very talented young lady. We like those.
And it reminds me too. So just got to throw this out here a little bit. So if you notice, the RV added my little rant last week. Kind of shat on the Mexico tapings or whatever, and I actually had someone try criticize me and talk some shit on there about how I claim to be knowledgeable but know nothing, and that if you knew, obviously if you knew what you're talking about, this and that happened in AAA. I'm in the majority that doesn't fucking watch AAA, and like Larkin kind of covered a little bit on our original show too, like to tell me about this Parker thing. Most fucking people that were watching those Mexico tapings have jack shit for a fucking idea as to what the hell was going on with these Mexican talent. Apparently there is La Parca and the flabby Apache that was supposed to be a big deal that wrestled Tessa that looked like a boy with a husky hair herself.
Dude, she had some talent though, man. Let's give her some credit. That girl is talented.
But she looked like a bag of mashed up asshole out there.
I mean, she did. Apparently she lost her hair or something. At least that's what the guy was yelling at you about. But I mean, she wasn't the most beautiful woman on the planet, but you know what? I mean, she was damn good in the ring. And they could do a lot with her, assuming that her English is good enough to get her over with the US crowd. They could do a lot with her and make her into something, because I mean, she just looks like a badass. I'm just saying, I wouldn't sleep on her. I was pretty impressed with her.
She looks like a something ass. It's also 3-letter words, but I'm not going to say it. But Prosper. Also, this person wanted to drill me about how successful Murder Clown was, as I was down on what happened with fucking Murder Clown. So, look, I'm just saying, Impact, for them to grow viewers, they need to win some people back and some casual viewers. Murder Clown and a bunch of shit that nobody knows about is not going to win those casual viewers back. Was my point that I was making. Brie Madonna, Brie Bella, whatever your fucking name was. So, thanks for listening to the Heelcast. So, and other good news too. So, PW Insider, this one makes me very happy. Willie Mack, aka the Mac, is going to become a regular on Impact Wrestling. So the Mac, and we'll actually talk that match a little bit later. So I'm not going to say that right now. I'm excited about this. Since I first saw that Lucha Underground versus Impact show, Willie Mack and Killshot, or the Mack and Killshot, Willie Mack and Impact apparently. So those two impressed me. I'd always been really impressed with Killshot. So I've been wanting to see the two of them in Impact. One is better than none. I'm excited to see him going forth, and I think this is a fucking great move. Your thoughts?
Oh, I love the signing. I love the signing. And I got to tell you something. That guy was over in New York City. Everybody knew who he was. Everybody loved him. And him and Rich Swann, folks, they were just having so much fun in that match. Their enthusiasm, the amount of fun that they were having in the ring just translated to the entire rest of the crowd. It was an opening match, and we'll get to talk about the match later, but they were just having fun. And there's nothing more exciting than watching people just have fun and enjoy what they're doing. And you can tell that Willie Mack is a wrestler's wrestler. He just loves being out there. He loves entertaining, and he just loves being a professional wrestler. This is a fantastic sign. The guy can go in the ring. The guy can talk. He's charismatic. You know, I watched him several years ago when I was able to get championship wrestling from Hollywood, and I was like, this guy sucks. That was my opinion. This guy sucks. But he's really come into his own. He's no longer generic or bland. This is a great signing for Impact Wrestling because this is the guy that's going to want to be there and probably going to continue to be there for the long term. And it's a guy that they can build into something. They're not going to build the promotion around him. He's not going to be the next God's gift at the top. He's not the next Hulk Hogan, but he's a guy that's going to come to work. He's going to be ready to work. He's going to do his job, and people are going to go, "Wow, Willie Mack, that was a lot of fun." And that's exactly what you need in a wrestling promotion. So I am ecstatic, thrilled with this signing. Willie Mack, welcome to Impact Wrestling.
No doubt. And this brings up a little side discussion I wanted to bring up too. That's kind of been on my mind. But one, I'm so impressed with Willie Mack that Kyle broke the news to me that Willie Mack is a known juggalo, and I still actually fucking like this guy. So, Willie, I really wonder what's going on in your head, personal life, but dude's awesome. Welcome aboard. Happy to see him going forward. When I heard about Willie Mack, and I'm reading these tapings the other day, and I mean, there's two reasons behind it, and one thing kind of scares me, but I'm gonna maybe bring that point up when we talk the OVE and Lucha Brothers in cage match though. And I hate saying this because somehow this has been such an epic failure every time that they've tried it, even though it shouldn't be so hard to do. I really feel like we need a legit mid-card title because I feel like this is something this guy, could be contended for and involved in. And to really build up the next star. Obviously, I know that's a death wish because for the love of God, I have no idea how this company has butchered a mid-card title 8 billion times over and can never get something so similar right. But it's just, I don't know, man. I'm just happy about this guy. I think he has a future. Obviously, you're right. Not build a company around him, but I'm ecstatic.
Now, you did absolutely just hit on a point here. It's really important. When you made the comment that you believe that they need a true mid-card title. What was my point about the main event scene not being very good? My point about the main event scene not being very good is the fact that they really kind of lost the main eventers. Am I right or not? So
yeah, we've lost a bunch, and it's hard to determine which ones are and which ones aren't the main event.
How do you make a main eventer, right?
You're Intercontinental Champion.
Intercontinental Champion. That's exactly how
the Hitman Hart.
Randy Macho Man Savage. Okay.
Michael.
All one thing in common: Intercontinental Champion. Diamond Dallas Page, right? He was a U.S. champion, TV champ, all that, all the 9 yards. Same with who?
Booker T.
Oh, I thought they said Victor. I was like, huh? Same with
Vincent,
Booker.
Virgil.
Right, that's where I was going. Hold on a second here. Are you just trolling me? So the bottom line is that when you don't have a good upper card, you've got to build a good upper card. You do that with a strong mid card, and you got to make it mean something. You got to have somebody in the mid card be just a little bit better than everybody else. And right now, they don't have that. They only have the X division, and Brian Cage just has locked down the X division. And at this point, hasn't even been defending the title. He's been doing other things. Build your mid card. That's the long term. Short term, you need to bring in the fusion of talent to make the upper card look better, but ultimately you've got to have that long term, and they're so worried about the short term, but they're losing sight of the long term, and this has plagued Impact Wrestling for freaking years. for its eternity, actually. It's never done this well, ever. Gotta fix that. That's why Vince McMahon sleeps well at night, folks, because he knows how to develop the mid-card.
I know FK9's been a big fan of the Legends TV Global King of the Mountain and probably the Grand Championship a lot too. So I'm sure he's really excited to hear about the desire for that mid-card title as well. But man, I've just dropped two good news bombs. How about a great fucking news bomb for you here? So guess who has re-signed a contract with Impact Wrestling?
Who?
They're losing sight of the long term. This is plagued Impact Wrestling.
What in the heck?
It's like, eternity.
What in the heck is going on here? Oh my God! It's happened.
Gotta fix that.
Gotta mute it. Gotta mute it. Gotta mute it. Raven Effect, we've been invaded.
I see who it is. I'm just confused with this background noise. But while we're getting invaded, I'm just going to say this: the Draw has re-signed with Impact Wrestling. Sami Callihan is going to be around for the long term.
That is amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So, folks, we got a guest, a special guest joining us midstream here. Raven Effect.
It's not Kyle.
It's not Kyle. No, it's not Kyle. We got somebody better.
Is it the one, Killer of Fools?
It is. It's
the one.
Football is fake.
FK9 is fake. Straight shooting is work shooting.
Damn, I've been trying to get FK1 for damn near half an hour, Raven Effect. I've been working this since you've been talking, which you've been doing a lot of for the record.
I figured it was bound to happen, and I was kind of expecting it for a while. But there's just when you put me on the spot to be live, I don't want to just be like, hey, and then have FK be like, oh, I can't, I'm eating Burger King or something like that.
I had to get his attention. It was difficult. It was very difficult. I asked him to check his goddamn DMs twice in the chat.
I mean, better late than never.
That's right. That's right.
So FK9, the Draw re-signed with Impact Wrestling.
Well, that's some good news. Maybe he can start getting some wins now.
Oh, he's got 2 big ones now, baby.
Well, yeah, beating Brian Cage was a nice start.
And he beat Pentagon in that death match.
Yeah.
So
By the way, I totally called OVE getting the win at Bound for Glory. So
I did not.
I didn't either. I was stunned. I'm not even gonna, when they pinned Cage, I was stunned. I was telling the guy that sits next to me during that, by the way, who turns out to be an Impact Asylum reader, but I did not know that until after the show when I posted on Impact Asylum, and he goes, "You were sitting next to me." I was telling him, my God, Cage is getting the crap kicked out of him, and he's just eating it. This is pathetic, even for Cage. And then he took the pin. It was like, holy shit.
The one thing the one thing that I've said about this, like, they've booked Pentagon so strong, even mythical fucking magical powers this whole time. Like, it made it look weak that they had all that time to just beat the shit out of Cage, the 3 of them, without Phoenix or Pentagon showing up. Do you think it's because Pentagon arrived so fucking late to the arena that they were kind of like, okay, you're not gonna look so strong tonight?
I think they should have let him eat the pin for it.
Yeah, truthfully, but obviously that fails what we're going through. But we're going to talk more about this part when we get to the BFT replay. But, I mean, as far as Callahan re-signing anyone, either one of you got something you want to say to it before I give my 2 cents real quick?
Just the best news that I've heard in a long time. And it's good to show that they're still re-signing people. It's awesome news. Thank you, Sammy.
I'm sure the Draw gives a fuck about what you say.
Also good to know that we're also good that we're hearing news like this, like before these people walk out of the company wearing championships, and we don't have to hear about them re-signing after they've left the company, like, with a title belt. Like, how many times has that happened in the past?
Bobby Roode.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
If he's re-signing when he's still with the company already, that's encouraging.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
Bruce Pritchard is gone now.
Thank fuck Christ. Twice now he's been gone. This. If you listened to me when I was doing the show when Callahan first came in, I thought the guy sucked. He just yelled. Could not stand him. thought he sucked. Obviously, this guy has changed my mind way the fuck around. Other than Eli and Aries, this is my favorite guy in Impact by a lot. I think he's doing things in the business that no one else is doing. I think he's innovative. He's out there. He's different. He's doing his thing. And I think this guy is legitimately a draw. And just, I was so, not only was I happy to see him get the win on Pentagon, because I felt like this guy is so good, he needs to start getting some wins. And then he finally gets it. For him to pin Cage, that's fucking awesome. And, you know, OVE, when they came in, they had a lot of hype from like what we heard on Asylum and all. And they really kind of just didn't click or work. He's taken these guys and made their moment to where I was like, dude, I want to see OVE challenge the belts or like get their own tag team feud. Like he's elevated them, he's elevated himself, and honest to God, man, if anyone, when it's time that they decide they're gonna have Johnny drop the belt, I want to either go to Callahan, Eli Drake, or if Aries comes back and does this and it's as good as it could be, that's the only other option right now. I'd rather see that than Moose or Cross. Callahan or Eli Drake needs to be the guy that beats Sam or that beats Johnny Impact.
Eli.
All right, so sorry, go ahead.
At this point, I'd settle for Eli Drake just getting a storyline of some kind.
Yeah, we'll be talking that in just a couple minutes. Cause,
one that doesn't involve him walking out of a match with fucking La Parka.
Hey now.
Because he can't beat La Parka. He has to walk out of that. Former world champion Eli Drake.
Against Jobber to the Stars, or to the Cruiserweight Stars in WCW 20 years ago. But now someone might rip your head off now, FK. Now, did you know, in the very, you know, everyone watching AAA promotion, someone apparently beat La Parka and took the costume. So that wasn't the old La Parka from WCW. That was the even older 75-year-old saggy tits La Parka that beat for it. And apparently the real La Parka is a world champion in a different promotion there that goes under LA Park. So I don't know. I don't want someone to say FK9 has no knowledge or credibility either. So got to save you there from, you know, the smart marks out there. That's the shit I took. So let's hop into fucking Bound for Glory for once. FK9, did you get a chance to watch it too, buddy?
You know, I haven't had a chance to see the show yet because my living situation is it remains in flux and will remain so until November.
November
so
now?
I don't. Yeah, the move got pushed back again. I'm still kind of sort of living in one place and kind of sort of not living in another place. There is my new home has been determined, but I can't move in until next month. So right now I'm just sort of making a pit stop in like two separate places. It's frustrating.
You know, the thing that you missed the most about Bound for Glory is the Impact dude got more overall camera time than any solo wrestler in the entire promotion that night.
Nice.
I had a great seat. I had an awesome seat. FK9, every dive that happened, like literally they crashed into me. Everyone. Wow. Because they only had one side of the ring where you could actually dive because there wasn't enough room on the other side. So anytime he did a dive, they had to dive out on my side. And I just happened to be right there where the barricade was, where the dives were coming. So literally when Aries nailed Taya, he and her, they both crashed into me. It's a good seat. It was a good seat. So yes, there were definitely some cameos of old Impact dude there.
The highlight of that sequence was not even the dive. It was
what I said afterwards.
The second that Oz and Aries hit Taya with that dive, it was still real to the Impact dude again. Yeah.
Let's just say some asshole is quite audibly heard on the show, calling Austin Aries a piece of shit, and that same person might be audible on this show as well. But it was amazing, honestly. We'll get to it later. I'll tell you all about it. It was amazing work on Aries' part. It really was. But we'll leave that for later.
I mean, FK9, is this spoilers for you that we're jumping into?
No, I read all the results.
I figured that. So, I mean, we opened the show with Rich Swann and the Mac taking on what's his name? Chandler Park? No, that guy never existed. Ethan Page and Matt Sydal with his third eye. This for me was probably one of the 3 or 4 best matches of the night. A good way to open. And this is what I wanted to point out too. It was like the Mac, who had one little brief vignette, like song intro. If you hadn't watched the Lucha Underground versus Impact show on Impact Wrestling, and this dude was more over than Rich Swann, Matt Sydal, and Ethan Page in that ring. He was really the most over guy that night. Fun match, really got the crowd going, got me excited for what was going to come after that. The fact that the match is staying around makes me think that the right team went over. And that's really all I have to say. So it was weird they were giving the fucking free upgrade seats away or whatever. That was just kind of ridiculous. But other than that, I mean, Impact, dude, you were there.
Yeah, so I thought this was a lot of fun. I mentioned before, I thought that Rich and Willie were just having fun out there. They were having so much fun. It was fantastic that they were just enjoying themselves and getting the crowd into it. It was the perfect opening match because you had the right people opening. We all knew Rich was going to get the win here. I mean, this is not a surprise in any way, shape, or form. It was Rich's turn to go over on the heel and to make Matt Sydal, eat the pin and lose. It's about as predictable, of an ending as it gets. But this was a good match. As far as them giving the seats away or whatnot, that came off a lot better in person than it did on TV. Because I did watch the show later. And, Mac had some fun with it. The seats that they gave away were actually the other end of the aisle that I was sitting on. So there were about 5 people in between us. But the Mac was definitely looking around and trying to pick somebody and telling everybody to make some noise. But it was just good way to work the crowd on the Mac's part. So a lot of fun match. Would love to watch that match again. I would say that probably Ethan Page was definitely the lesser of the wrestlers in there. The other 3 guys were over and worked fantastically well. And that's not to say Ethan Page was bad. It's just that he didn't shine as much as the other 3 did.
No, he didn't. Were those seats like right by you, by the way?
Yeah, so I was just on the other side of the middle of that aisle, and they were on the opposite end. So whoever that New York Giant was, he was sitting like 3 people from me.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But yeah, so I was on his side, and those guys were over there. But I thought it was a fun thing to do. I don't think it translated very well for TV, but for the live crowd, it was definitely bring him in and get him loud.
The mark out moment for me of Bound for Glory could have been there. Would have been if Kyle would have won and it would have been right next to you. That I would have marked out for that. That would have been my highlight of BFG actually if that would have been the case.
If Taya would have won.
I know both of these guys.
Oh, Kyle, yes. Well, I saw Kyle for like 2 minutes afterwards. But I got to tell you what the funniest part of the show was. It was before the show even started. They had women in evening gowns. FK9, you're going to get a kick out of this. They had these women walking around in evening gowns, and they were handing out, actually throwing to the audience, wait for it, pens. They had light up Impact Wrestling pens, and they were throwing them into the audience. And then the crowd started chanting, "We want pens, we want pens." Can't make this shit up. You cannot make this shit up. And then they gave us koozies afterwards with Impact Wrestling on them. And, of course, Comda. Everything had Comda.com on them.
You've hit the jackpot and your company's doing well when you're giving out free pens at a show that people are making money for by a company that I still have never really heard of until now, and I still don't know what the fucking Comda is. It was unbelievable. And then I turned to the guy next to me, who, like I said, I found out later is an Impact Asylum guy, and I just looked at him and I said, "Who would have thought you'd be at a wrestling show, and there'd be women in evening gowns handing out fucking pens?" Were those women in the evening gowns? Were those Moose's hoes?
I'm pretty sure they were Comda.com ladies. Terribly overdressed. Yeah.
FK9, was there anything? Obviously we know you didn't see the pay-per-view. Was there anything you feel about the match or wanted to say on this one?
No, you guys covered it. Just go ahead. I'll chime in when I got something to say.
All right. I guess the other thing I can really say about this before we go, is that you know, with your fucking brilliant self there, Impact, dude. I honestly, I thought this tag team match was very hard to predict who was gonna win, and I actually, if I would have had to put money on it or went one way, I actually picked Matt Sydal and Ethan Page to win. Because I thought, I don't know that the Mac is staying around, and you know, we have Ethan Page who's debuting. They can make him look like a big, you know, kind of like a big force or whatnot. So I actually kind of thought that we'd do that, and then we would maybe at a later time see Rich Swann get his revenge on Sydal. But I was also kind of disappointed because I wish that they would have saved this match as a one-on-one for Bound for Glory, and then, you know, maybe debuted Ethan Page. But the way that the match turned out at the pay-per-view, the tag team match, actually, I thought was a lot better than their singles match that they had on Impact. So props to you there. And I think this might be one that we actually do get some input from FT9. But now we're thinking, at least a lot of the rumor was it was going to be Chris Jericho that answers Eli Drake's open challenge. That was what I was hoping and kind of thinking, but
yeah, we got that one wrong.
Yeah, very wrong. You know, I was kind of thinking Impact might dupe us and we'll get Jericho to debut against either Callahan or Aries might prevail, and then Jericho takes the belt from him or something along those lines. The second that it was the second segment and you hear Eli Drake's music hit, I realized, okay, well, no Jericho there. So he comes out. Eli Drake is, you know, great on the mic and starts doing what he's doing. I mean, there was rumors kind of going on who else it might be. Tommy Dreamer was a possibility. I've heard, you know, Real One or Enzo or Big Cass. Amazing Red. Low-key got thrown around at some point too. So there was now the word is that has been confirmed by PW Insider was, do either you know who Joey Janela is?
Yes.
No.
Who is Joey Janela?
He's an indie talent. He does a lot of work locally in New York. Fairly big name in that market. Supposed to be very entertaining and very talented. But he's an indie guy.
So apparently that's who it was supposed to be, and apparently what PW Insider reported that they had like a big plan and push and all set to debut this guy and all that. But he got injured or whatever. And then the second rumor was that it was going to be Low Key, which was 100% bullshit. If they would have brought Low Key back into Impact Wrestling for one, and if I fucking swear to God, if he'd have went over on Jenny Impact, I'd have been done with this company because fuck that guy. As entertained as I've been by him throughout the years, like they should never, ever, ever consider bringing this guy around again. But so I knew who he was and I had heard his name and I actually, you know, would have at least known him by the face, even though I've never seen anything he's done. But so it was James Ellsworth, apparently of WWE fame, that came out. You see the guy and it's totally underwhelming. You can tell everyone is like, "Are you fucking shitting me?" I want to say that before we get into it now, one, as terrible as this could have been, and Kyle takes credit for starting the "fuck you Ellsworth" chant, and then the delete chant at the start was cool too. As awful as this could have been, Eli Drake actually is so great that he actually made this entertaining to where I didn't mind, you know, like him just, you know, stomping this jabroni out and getting him out of the ring. But obviously a massive disappointment. And then I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's Jericho, but I knew like there's going to be someone else is going to come out after this. And we'll talk about who that was in just a sec, but let's go to FK9 and then since Impact Dude was there, I mean, when you found out it was Ellsworth, or I mean, FK9, your thoughts on it being Ellsworth overall?
This really reeks of a situation where they had one plan. They thought one thing was going to happen. It didn't happen. Something fell through. And then they had to come up with some kind of last-minute replacement. Because I believe when Ellsworth came out, he was like, well, I'm not actually from New York. You said it was open challenge for someone from New York. I'm not from New York. But, you know, I dated someone from Staten Island. Yeah, okay. Referencing something from WWE. But I think once Eli Drake put out this open challenge for anyone from the New York area, people's minds were going to go a certain way. And then out comes someone who's not from New York, and they just roll with that. So obviously there was some kind of plan that didn't work out, and this was a last-minute replacement. If Eli Drake managed to turn, you know, chicken shit into chicken salad, good. I'm not surprised. He can do that. because he's that good at what he does. But James Ellsworth, seriously, you couldn't find someone better than that. I mean, Tommy Dreamer would have been a disappointment, but he would have been better than fucking James Ellsworth.
And I got two questions for you, because as soon as you said I dated a girl from Staten Island, for one, I figured, okay, I think that might be something that's a reference from WWE.
Yeah.
Who is the girl that's supposed to be?
It's one of the divas. No, sorry, that's a dirty word now. It's one of the female performers, the female stars from WWE, Carmella, she's kind of crap, to be honest. He was like a toady / sidekick for her during her heel run before she just inexplicably turned face with no explanation, like a few weeks ago. So yeah, he did like a lot of really irritating stuff, like helping. Like, he literally like grabbed the briefcase in the first ever women's Money in the Bank match and just like handed it to her, and that's how she won. Just stuff that really pissed people off.
That's a women's revolution, if I ever heard one.
Yeah, it was mainly on SmackDown stuff, so I have very little exposure to the guy because I haven't watched SmackDown in 100 years. But yeah, he had a pretty surprisingly long run for, you know, considering who he is there. I mean, he had wins over, Christ, what the hell was it? I don't know. I think he had wins over like AJ Styles or something at one point. And they were pushing him as some kind of like inexplicable, like loser who keeps like getting into like big spots somehow or some way. I don't know. Again, I didn't see it, but again, the main stuff he was doing was with Carmella, this diva who is like complete crap, honestly. But
Gotcha.
I mean, give the guy like some credit. He did manage to hang in there longer than a lot of people have.
Gotcha. So it kind of sounds like Mikey Whipwreck too, real original WWE, but
yeah, just kind of like a novelty character that they keep around just for like shits and giggles.
Yeah, and I guess they brought him back for that SmackDown special 1000 or whatever the other night. But I mean, Impact, dude, you were there. I mean, your personal thoughts? How was the crowd? I'm pretty sure we can tell how the crowd was, but.
Well, I'm monitoring the comments here on the chat room, and the Chris Steele Show says it pretty well. He says, you know, at least it wasn't Enzo and Cass. And there's something to be said about that. And by the way, Ellsworth beat AJ like 3 times. So there's that. Having been there, I was not at all surprised when Ellsworth showed up. But that's because I was, you know, standing in line beforehand, and the guy behind me was telling me that he had been at the bar and Ellsworth had been at the bar earlier that day. So it's like, oh, okay, Ellsworth might show up. But the thing was that, you know, after this went down, and I found it very entertaining, but Eli Drake is just a very entertaining person to begin with. You know, it's like FK9 said, he can turn chicken shit into chicken soup, or however that phrase goes. And so, yeah. Tell you something, man, nobody can fix my chicken soup or my chicken shit. But the bottom line is that it was entertaining, okay? And I love when he just cut everybody off and said, sorry, wrong guy, for the delete chant. That just cracked me up, and it focused everybody back on exactly what Eli Drake wanted you to be focused on. That's where Eli Drake really excels. He knows how to get everybody to where he wants to get it so he can tell his story. I thought that Ellsworth was also very entertaining. He obviously was playing the role of the guy who's getting ready to get beat up, and he did get beat up. Where things went south for me was, you know, after he got beat up, and we knew Ellsworth wasn't the one, because Ellsworth, of course, wasn't actually from New York. And FK9, just to be clear, Ellsworth was wearing a shirt that said he was from Baltimore. Okay, so he wasn't trying. There was really clear when he gets in the ring. It's like, oh, dude's not from New York. So they were definitely playing it over, even in the shirt that he had in the ring. But you know, the big thing was at that point, it was like, well, this is where we want to see Jericho. But because, of course, it was the second match of the night, you know, the music hits. It's not Jericho, but they give you Abyss. right? And then that's a little bit of a mark out moment because the guy just went into the Hall of Fame. So they at least gave you that. But I do feel very trolled by the fact that they didn't have Jericho there. I mean, they literally had us all, gung-ho with all these little hints that Jericho could be there, Jericho could be there, Jericho could be there, only to just not have it happen. Now, I know there's a lot of logic that says if Jericho was going to be there, they would have used it to sell tickets. Jericho's expensive. You have to sell tickets, and you have to sell pay-per-views if Jericho's going to be there. I understand that, but the last thing that you want to do is lose the trust of your audience. And this is the problem that Impact/TNA has had over the years. Raven Effect, you said before, they can just go back to the way that they were when they were good. They could, but who's going to trust that they're going to stay there? After all, they were this, and they were this, and they were that, and they were broken, and then they were this other thing, and, they've done so many different things that they're losing the trust of their audience. So I really feel like them playing it up at all before Bound for Glory, if he's not going to show, is just a really bad idea.
I mean, they did feed into the rumors and all, and I mean, look, I was very, if anyone that listened to my rant and Bound for Glory predictions, I've said, look, the Save Us Y2J thing is literally, it was a gimmick at one point. This is actual fucking reality. Like, if anyone is going to somewhat save this company at all, it's this guy. And Jericho's hinted at it, and Impact has fed into the hints and kind of teased us along. And so, I mean, that is a disappointment, and in a way, it kind of bums out the audience. I'm still disappointed in it, and it kind of, control them out. But look, there's still the Jericho Cruise coming up soon. I mean, there's nothing that doesn't mean he won't show up in January, or he won't show up at a later time. Bound for Glory seemed like the perfect time, but, maybe it just didn't work out. Like, as down as I am on this company and just think, like, we're never going to get shit. For some reason, and at the start of the year, I felt like if you think Jericho is coming to Impact Wrestling, you're either Hurls or the people that make Hurls look like Chef. But I kind of fucking see it coming at some point. I still feel that it's there. I mean, it seems like Callis and New Japan have kind of cut ties, and Jericho, has came on, said that it's a mistake. He said he ordered Impact. He's been plugging Impact. I mean, he's hinted at it too. Doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. I'm not convinced fully that it is like I was, but this is literally the biggest thing they can possibly get. He's not going to do what John Cena or someone like that could do, because literally John Cena is the only guy other than The Rock that they could sign that would fucking save this company, which is a 0% possible of that ever happening. But I mean, just back to what happened. I mean, the second that they said the Eli Drake said Hall of Fame level, I mean, did you know what was coming right after Hall of Fame level? Because I knew, okay, here comes Abyss.
Oh, I mean, it was clear. It was very clear where they were headed. Absolutely.
Yeah. And look, I mean, normally I wouldn't have liked this, but yeah, it came off the Hall of Fame induction. There's nobody in Impact Wrestling that deserves to be inducted into their Hall of Fame more than the real, legitimate Mr. TNA and Abyss. Look, we saw Eli go over, pin some jabroni, get his stuff in, work the crowd. It was entertaining. So we get that mark out moment with Abyss because the guy deserves it. I didn't mind it or was bothered by it by any means, because it was kind of a celebration for him. You get him one last pay-per-view moment. And it's not like he pinned Eli. You know what I mean? He chokeslammed him through the table or whatever. But it still didn't end with Eli taking a 3 count to, the monster who, let's face it, prior to Decay was, the jobber to anyone that they made him wrestle. So it worked for me. Obviously, they could have booked Eli a little bit stronger, but, it still worked out entertaining and got some gold out of it. So. Before we move on to the next thing, either of you guys have anything to say before we go from there?
Nah, roll on, man.
Oh. All right. Sadly, what was the third match? I actually don't have a fucking match line up here. I figured. Oh, it was Moose versus Eddie next, right?
I want to say that was next.
Yeah. I'm about to get started on this one. So, Moose versus Eddie, very quick match, which turned out to end up becoming a tag team match. So, look, we have Eddie versus Moose starts. It never, ever really becomes anything. We have Cross starting to choke out Eddie from, out in the audience or wherever.
No, wait a minute. It was Tessa versus Taya.
That came first?
That did. But you
Okay, well, we'll talk that first.
whatever you want to talk about.
You know, like we're already talking about this Eddie thing. We'll go to the knockouts match next because you know what, the knockouts match is good, and I want to talk about that. So Cross, they get immediately disqualified, and I'm thinking like, you got to be fucking shitting me if this is all we're gonna get. You know, the beat down thing happens for a minute, and I figure, okay, someone's gonna save him. It's gonna lead to a tag team. I know anyone that listens to me knows who I was fucking on my hands and knees praying and begging for that would come out and make that save. I wanted from the second that I could tell it was going to be, you know, Cross and Moose together and the Moose and Eddie feud going. I'm like, bring Davey back. Let's have the Wolves against those two. But no, but it's Tommy Dreamer. Look, I love Tommy, but I've seen all the Tommy I'll ever need, and that was in his prime and then some. So this turns into a tag team match. This is by far not only the biggest disappointment, but the worst match of the night by far to me. And then we see Moose get pinned with a lame fucking roll up. But my gripe with it, not only does it kind of a bad shitty match, but like you needed this pay-per-view to hit a home run. This is one of your best built matches with your two best workers. I paid and other people paid $40 fucking. Have something that really stands out match-wise. Do this on Impact. It works fine on Impact, but you just fucked us out of what could be a really goddamn good match. And from what I understand, which I won't bring up, I feel that's just been verified and justified. So very frustrated in this and disappointed. Impact, your thoughts?
So here's the thing. Every single thing that you just said is absolutely true. So Impact Wrestling, if you're listening, listen to what Raven Effect just said. Don't listen to what I'm getting ready to say, because Raven Effect, I'm going to say the exact opposite, but I'm coming from a very, very particular point of view, which is completely slanted and not what the average viewer's thinking. I thought it was awesome. And the reason I thought it was awesome was, first of all, I wanted to see Killer Cross on the show. Right, I wanted to see him wrestling, and I got to see him wrestle. That's the first thing, and I am absolutely a big Killer Cross fan. Like I said, we had him on the Heelcast. The guy is just a lot of fun, and I'm a big fan of his. The second thing that was really cool about this for me was that Tommy Dreamer at one point in the match, they're all on the outside. He literally grabs a guy's beer. Did you see him take the beer and take a drink out of it? Anybody there?
I apologize. I did not. I was trying to.
Did not. Okay.
Card on my phone
He grabbed the beer out of the guy who's sitting next to me's hand, took a swig out of it, and then he spit it all over. I guess it was Moose. Okay. Then he did the same thing with water, and the next thing you know, all of us in the front row, we got water spewing all over us. There's beer everywhere, and it was just a lot of fun the way that Tommy Dreamer incorporated the crowd and did some of the things that he did. When he took the bottle of water and took a drink and spit it into Eddie's mouth, and Eddie spewed it, and it went freaking all over everybody. It was very disgusting, very gross, but again, it was very entertaining. So as many times as I've said, I never really wanted to watch Tommy Dreamer on my TV screen 20 years ago when he was in his prime, and I sure as hell don't want to watch him on my TV screen now. I'll still stand by that. But Tommy Dreamer Live was a lot of fun. That match in general was a lot of fun. Those guys went at it pretty hard, and I thought that they put on a great match. But I gotta tell you, you know, this is because I got to be in the crowd. If I hadn't been in the crowd, I'd say exactly what you said, which is you can do this tag match any day of the week. You can do this tag match on Impact. You can do it on Twitch. You can do it on Explosion if you want to do an Explosion. Why you would do this at the pay-per-view is beyond me. Seemed to me like they were using New York City and Tommy Dreamer as, you know, a cheap way to go to get somebody over in a match, and it didn't need it. It just didn't need it. But it was a lot of fun, dude. That was a lot of fun. That was one of the highlight matches for me.
Over the years. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go for it, FK.
Okay. Over the years, this company has had a weird habit of not delivering what they advertise, especially on pay-per-view. Like a lot of the time, yeah, there are plenty examples of this where, like on the day of, like the card will change because like they just want it to be unpredictable and spontaneous or something, so they just go in a different direction just for the hell of it, or maybe they had an injury or someone backed out and they had to change the card because of that. And then there's something like this. Now, I know sometimes things happen that you can't control, but if you've got everyone there and there's been no change of plans, then my feeling is if you advertised one thing, you should deliver that thing. Don't change it just for the hell of it. Now, if you want to get Killer Cross a spot on the show, I'm all for that, but find a different way to do it. If you advertise Moose versus Eddie Edwards, and that's what all the buildup was about, that's what the storyline is about, that's what you advertised, then that's what you ought to deliver. Don't throw new people in there for seemingly no reason at all. I mean, you could have Killer Cross do something here without making this an impromptu tag match. If you want to throw Tommy Dreamer on the show, all right, fine.
No, it was known that this was planned on being a tag match, and he was going to be, in there. He didn't make it sound like he was going to be at ringside, managing Aries or Moose or anything like that. He made it sound like, if you get the show, you're going to get to see me. Which, like I said, for me, a big fan of his, that's great. But you do have to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. I mean,
Exactly. Couple things, and then I do get everything about, but it's Impact. But on show, I wanted to see that too. Because I didn't have the prominent match, and I didn't think that was fair, and that's why I've been hoping to be challenged and team belts at these tapings. But you're right. I do appreciate the fact that there was a a different person who was there in the audience, and that's great to hear. I'm glad it was a lot of fun, and maybe that kept the crowd going. They were completely playing off of and Dreamer and all that, which we get. The thing with that, and it's unright though, is people. I mean, my stuff, because so I used to work at DirecTV for 3 years, where I had to talk to everyone across the country. Or wants to give props in New York. A lot of us kind of feel, and it's like, so the New York crowd that's all pro New York, sometimes like fuck New York. Prime example, James Ellsworth comes out. I mean, he shows us how all right, Impact dude represented Maryland really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not the only one that drove 200 miles up to go to the show. Damn, Ellsworth, we could have carpooled, buddy. What the fuck?
Sadly, I think you are in better shape than Ellsworth. You look more like a pro wrestler than he does.
Right? Isn't that scary?
You know what, man? And I say this, it's Dreamer. It's one thing, hanging off. Tommy Dreamer's he's so past his prime. Even fan of the guy, and again, like I say, if they would have done this sort of tag match, in a fucking marking out in all four world. But when it's Dreamer, it's different, and it's my issue with this too. Like FK9 says, you said that too. The time that the product was really having really shitty build. Taping sucked. As FK9 even I saw you. The crowd was dead. It almost felt like Impact Honors, but there was just nothing to it. No context, no build. This was just built matches, but it had some the meat, and these are two can have a good match with anyone, and it's like I just was excited. Gonna fucking, they're gonna perform, and they're gonna go out there and give us something to watch. I was dead set, like Eddie and Moose are gonna tear it down. Didn't get any of that.
Yeah, Raven Vic, you're breaking in and out. You're breaking in and out, buddy. I don't know if you need to get closer to your phone or you're losing a signal or something like that. Make sure you got a charge on the phone, but you are definitely breaking in and out a lot.
I'm hearing me marked out right now.
You're a little bit better now, but you're coming and going.
All right, let me transfer it. I guess the other thing I said, but did you know it was just the match? If you noticed, did when the new interaction or physical contact with Moose?
What physical contact with Moose?
One of the New York Giants. Didn't they have contact with Moose in this match?
Yeah, supposedly there was some contact with Moose. It wasn't very much.
But so I mean, these news that they advertise, Can you guys hear me better now?
You're still in and out.
Well, I fucking wrong that, I guess. So the New York Giants, I say the name. Who the fuck is this? If like over the last 15, 20 years, I pretty much know every single name, like in and out. Because I really know I way too big. I've never fucking heard of this guy in my life, and then dude, turns out these guys are on the practice. It's sad when you can only get practice squad ties them like they're a big deal. You guys probably won't ever play a snap in the entire league.
He got cut by the freaking Raiders in the preseason. He's an offensive lineman that got cut by the Raiders. I mean,
there's the stuff's all fake anyway.
Goddamn right, FK9. That football shit is so fake. Wrestling is real. People are fake. Come on, that's my Mr. Anderson line.
I remember the T-shirt.
Exactly. I wanted one of those T-shirts. I never got an opportunity to get one. I should have just ordered it online. See if I can get one now. But no, the bottom line, FK9, is that the whole interaction with the quote-unquote New York Giant, and I'm looking at the guy and going, who the fuck is this guy? I had no idea who he was. He's sitting like 3 seats down from me, 3-4 seats. And I'm like looking at him all night going, I have no idea who the hell you are, you know. But he must have showed up and said, hey, I play for the Giants. Like, quick, put him in the front row, talk to him, bring him in. You know, guy was a nobody. It was definitely a low point for Impact Wrestling to be touting that some practice squad player that was literally cut the preseason from a team as bad as the Raiders is at the show. It was pretty pathetic.
Much better.
The Giants are not much better. I grant you that. And there were a lot of Jets chants when the guy showed up. And of course, Eli Drake actually Eli Drake did make fun of him, if I remember correctly, because I believe that he had a little role in that segment as well. But
you know, somehow the 1-5 record fell. I mean, squad guys, dude, like doesn't give a shit team at all. Like literally hasn't taken a snap.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you can't start for the Giants offensive line, which is all right now, it just shows the fucking low point they've hit. You know, because maybe no fucks like Brian, like Frank Wycheck, even Bart Scott, Brandon Jacobs. Now they've got a practice squad guy from the Giants no one has heard of, and yet he plays for the team and is a big deal, and even let him get involved.
You're cutting in and out, man. You're unfortunately, dude. If you're gonna save the show, you're gonna need to go into a little bit cut it down mode. You know, be a little bit more curt and quick with the responses than long-winded. We know that's not really your strong suit, but unfortunately, your connection's just lousy right now, and so you're kind of in and out. So why don't we go and why don't we talk about Taya and Tessa?
Yeah, so thanks for letting me know. I'll just keep it short right now. Tessa versus Taya, great match. Literally fucking blew me away as far as the best knockouts match I've seen on Impact in a long time. Beat the shit out of both knockout matches from Slammiversary. This was the only match on this card that I knew. Okay, there's 0% chance that Taya wins. I hope that they continue this feud. Since if he has something to say, we'll let him say it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go. I'll tell you right now that Taya versus Tessa delivered. It's a testament to the fact that Taya is a really phenomenal talent. We knew this going into it. We always knew she was a star. She hasn't been booked like a star, and I think part of that's on her, right? And I've been critical of her on this show, but I'm going to tell you that the biggest winner of the night, in my mind, across the entire card, was Taya Valkyrie. Okay? She was over in this match in a big way, and from the moment that she walked out of that curtain, it was very apparent Taya is a star. She showed what a fantastic wrestler she is. She put on a clinic with Tessa. Tessa was fantastic too. I mean, there's no doubting Tessa Blanchard is a star. But the bottom line is that Taya took something that really had no chance. This match had no chance at all. Zero build. She wasn't even in Mexico to try to build it up. And turned it into something that really delivered. And then, because of the controversial finish, or actually pinning Tessa, but not pinning Tessa, they're able to now build this into a feud moving forward, which allows Tessa Blanchard somebody to actually feud with, because all the other knockouts are busy. A very, very high caliber feud. They're going to continue to put on clinics in the wrestling ring, and they're going to continue to exhibit why women's wrestling, particularly Impact Knockouts women's wrestling, is indeed just as good as the men, and something that people should watch, be proud to watch, and be excited to watch. So this match for me knocked it out of the park simply because of how good it was in the ring. And they really, this match took chicken shit and turned it into chicken soup. FK9, what do you think about this? What's your take?
Well, having not actually seen it yet, I can only speculate, but I'm glad it turned out well, because let's face it, they kind of needed it to turn out well. Given the state of the knockout roster right now, and they don't have a whole lot of girls to work with, and all the others are kind of doing other things right now, and they don't really have anyone else to feud with Tessa at the moment. So if they could turn this, they really had no build-up at all, and actually make something out of it and turn it into a viable feud that can hopefully last at least for a little while, then that's probably best case scenario.
I had some. I wasn't big on seeing this match. I've felt forced and pushed. Like, it seems since day one they couldn't wait to make this girl champion, and I felt for one, Su Young's reign was too good. She should stay champ. So Rosemary comes out. Said, I mean, looked at how the roster was shaping up and the matches they already had. I mean, it was, but it's heel versus heel. And I've been wanting them to bring John together, which they did, but Taya's fucking face turn was so lackluster, pointless, irrelevant, and it just came out of nowhere. And there was to it, and they came out and they blew the roof down. I had low expectations of this. It blew my mind away. This is match number 3 or 4 for me. I've been into Taya at all. I just have not fucking liked her. She won me over that night. So great match, and I'd like to see that continue.
Yeah, I have been very, very, very critical of her and her visa situation. I believe that's completely on her. All she had to do is keep her paperwork up to date, folks. I got lots of folks that are on, H-1Bs that work for me, and none of them ever have problems, and they're not from Canada, right? That having been said, let's just say this was her redemption. This might as well have been the redemption pay-per-view for Taya Valkyrie. She went out. She was over from the moment she walked out the ramp. Every single one of us were on our feet cheering her the entire time. And when we get to the Johnny and Aries match later on, the main event, she had a massive impact on that match, even without her taking the dive from Aries. So big, big, big props to her. I am a huge Taya Valkyrie fan coming out of that night. Big time. And I'll stop complaining about the visa thing.
She got, herself. So which it's I kind of missed out as far as my OVE got the win over Cage and the Lucha Brothers here. We see Cal to pin Brian Cage, which makes me happy because the guy. I mean, it was entertaining. These guys are all very over. I think Phoenix is probably the least over of them. OVE's naturally over now because of. I'm not, to be honest. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I did not win. Glad they did because I want to see Sammy get the win. My concern is that we get a hand feud after this, and it's set for the X Division title. I might talk the X Division in here at the end of this, but want to see that at all for the X Division. The right move to go forward. If you have any thoughts, go for you.
Well, I said on the prediction show that I thought Sami Callihan deserved to get like a big win, or deserved to get some wins because the guy was too good to be jobbing out all the time. And well, I got what I wanted. I didn't see him pinning Brian Cage coming, but I'll take it.
I mean, he definitely deserves a win. There's no doubt about it. At the same point in time, I always kind of look at him as the Roddy Piper that, he'll beat the jobbers and he'll lose every other match just because he can. Not too many people can pull that off. This match was a great match. It really was. I mean, when you look at some of the matches on this card, a lot of athleticism. I would say the big thing that I missed in this match was I really wanted to get the opportunity to watch Phoenix do some of the rope walking that he does. As Don Callis likes to say, nobody knows how to use a ring quite like Phoenix does. We really didn't see much of that. We got to see Brian Cage throw I think it was one of the Chris, that probably Dave, out of the ring, and that was freaking insane. Again, all that stuff was kind of landing on me, which is like just wild. But in the end, I got to tell you, I was like watching Brian Cage get kicked and kicked and kicked, and it was like telling the guy next to me, I'm like, man, they're going full Bellas on him. They're just kicking the shit out of him. And in the end, it's like you're just waiting for Brian Cage to like hawk up and choke slam all three of them and, drill claw them and pin them. And then he just kind of fell over and Sammy pinned him. And it was probably the most shocking moment of the night. And it was shocking because, first of all, it was just terrible the way it went down. I mean, just do a finisher on the guy and finish him for crying out loud, I mean, it was... I don't know. I didn't care for the way it went down, and maybe it's just because I like Brian Cage. I didn't want to see him take the loss. And maybe it's because I had Cage and Phoenix on my fantasy team, and I only have, I think, Jake Crystal on the other side, so I probably lost some points there for that, Hurls. But I didn't like the way it went down, the way it went over. But the match itself was a great match, a lot of action. The Christs are not top talents, but they're great deckhands, right? These are guys that are able to help put on a great match and be that kind of player that you need at times in your wrestling promotions. These are hands that you're just going to keep around forever. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at the other four, it's like, man, these guys are just all prime talent. And if Impact Wrestling's paying attention, I think they are on this one, right? They have to recognize that, and they've got to put the belt on all four of those guys at some point in time, right? All four of them, because a lot of people will tell you Phoenix is the best wrestler in the world. He just hasn't been showcased as much as his brother has. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun match, and glad that they put them all together and found a way to get these guys all on the show, because you only have 8 matches, right? And you got a lot of talent you want to use, so this is a great way to get them on there. I know you guys complain, Raven. In fact, I know you in particular were complaining about the number of tag matches that we had, but that's kind of how you manage to get that many people on a show with just 8 matches.
Totally get that, and I'm always a tag team advocate. You know what I mean? I just felt like the Eddie tag team matches, but I love it. Simple fact: Cage booked unbeatable, indestructible, and all that. First time, you know what I mean? So, and Callahan did that, so that's awesome. That's big for him. That feud. As far as like you talking about, but X Division with Phoenix Penta. Cage, I feel his world title reign eventually at some point is inevitable. Callahan, I think if anyone, I'm advocating for him to be the champ at some point. My thing, man, that X Division title, I wanted to see the X Division showcase more. I mean, we always have pushed that since the start of this show. I feel like this regime and management has completely, we don't get the X Division anymore, really, and there's way too much time out. Now, if we're going to have Callahan challenge Cage for the X Division Championship, Callahan is any means, and that I would much rather to interfere and do whatever to where like have him wrestle one of the Chris brothers and one of them win the X Division title for like Gary. You know what I mean? I want the belt X Division back. to see those two feud. My fear is that the Midcard title earlier. Nervous that the X division no longer going to be X division title is really going to completely morph into that Midcard. What built this company that made and want again.
Right, in fact, you're in and out, man. The brevity
Fuck
thing,
you,
buddy.
man.
That's not my fault. I can't help it. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody listening knows it. So we're telling you the brevity thing is going to have to be the way, at least until you get a connection that's like working for you, man.
Yeah, I know. That was kind of like my last big thing I wanted to say. I'm frustrated. I apologize to literally anyone listening. Live on. Next match was LAX. Probably my second selected out is the original at Slammiversary. When I want to see LAX probably lose the belts to either the Lucha, Cross and Moose, but definitely was violent, dangerous. Obviously, with the things they were doing, they weren't able to do a lot of the cool moves and stuff that they did at. That's what I gotta say. Saw you, and then a bit more.
FK9, you got something you want to go with first, buddy?
I heard this match was so violent that people were actually glad it was only 10 minutes because they were legit frightened for that someone was going to get killed during it.
I don't know that I was. I mean, there was definitely. Well, let me put it to you this way, okay? So the OGs, they come to the ring first, right? And then LAX comes down. They got this guy, and he's doing a rap hip hop song, singing as they go to the ring. So what do the OGs always do, right? The bad guys, they always get out of the ring and they walk around on the outside, right? So
yeah.
Sure as I'm shitting you here, you can't make this shit up. Homicide comes over to us and lets us know. He says, "I'm going to be smoking a lot of weed after this one." Okay? You can't make this shit up. That's exactly what he told us. And the God's honest truth is that he probably should have smoked it beforehand, man. At one point, it was Santana and Ortiz, okay? And they had Hernandez, okay? And they were effectively superplexing him from the top rope, one of the boards, okay? And FK9, you got to see this show because you got to watch the best part of this match. And this match was awesome and scary as shit. They spent most of the time outside the ring because it was too goddamn dangerous in the ring. But the fun part of the match to watch was Kid Ref, okay? Because when they took everything apart, one of the boards wouldn't lay flat. They couldn't fit it in, okay? Because what they had done is they had taken some tie downs and they had strapped it so that they would hold in place. But they strapped them too tight and one board was out. So he is sitting there, he's telling everybody in the ring, like, don't get near this, don't get near this. And they're all trying to kind of push it down. Nobody can push it down. Then he's going to pull it out of the way, right? But it's the one in the middle, of course, right? It's just always somebody in the damn middle. So as soon as they move, he jiggles it a little bit. They move a little bit more, he jiggles it some more. And finally, he wound up pulling it out completely onto the ramp, okay? And then, and I was watching it later with the wife, and the wife's like, "Oh, great, now there's the hole in the ring." Right? Well, she was afraid somebody's foot was going to get caught in it. Well, in reality, they then kind of spread the boards so it wasn't so bad, but it was scary when they were taking the bumps, and they were taking big bumps on one of those boards, guys. They were taking big bumps, and it was, I don't know about getting killed, but definitely those guys were hurt when they had to be hurting for the next couple days after that match. Absolutely no way in hell not. And then they wound up outside the ring, so they were all diving into us because it was safer. You know what I mean? At least had somebody to catch you. So it was a very, very, very violent match. It was absolutely awesome to watch in person. It was phenomenal to watch on TV as well. But I'm glad that Don and Josh actually played the board into, the commentary of it, because I was afraid that they were just going to try and talk past it. But it was legit. That board being up made everything incredibly dangerous. And then just taking the shots on the board, it was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, home when it happened, for one, it shows you, okay, anyone that wants to claim, oh, the wrestling ring is really soft padded, whatever. Look what's fucking underneath it. That's the one thing that really caught me too. And it's not like I don't know, but it was still just like, Jesus. And then he's got to take it in bumps. And then, there's one towards like the TV that the board kind of slid a little bit, and there was that hole towards the ropes. It was dangerous, watching it. You kind of cringe when people get hurt. Hernandez gets cut up pretty bad. I didn't think it's an event, but this was definitely awesome.
I watched a podcast or like a video the other day from a guy who was at the show. He said he was legitimately scared that somebody was going to die for real in that match.
I wouldn't say I was scared anybody was going to die, but when they were up on the ropes and they were getting ready to take those bumps, you were just like, holy shit, they're actually going to do that. And if you've never watched professional wrestling, if you don't have an innate just respect for those guys going into it, you watch a match like that, and I was never a big Hernandez fan. And Homicide and King, they're all right. I mean, I've never been huge fans of those guys. But the respect, I'm fans of them now. Like, how can you not be fans of people that go out there and do that shit? I mean, it was absolutely insane what they did to entertain us fans, and we should all be thankful and appreciative of those guys for putting that match on, because that was just one sick-ass match. I mean, Raven Effect, you talk about wanting to put an edge on Impact Wrestling. That shit put a massive edge on Impact Wrestling. That's a match that they should show on an upcoming Impact Wrestling show, just for the sake of showing it, because people need to see that. It was insane.
It was. If anyone was good plays, it was Kid Ref in there. And I think I've probably been about the only person I know that's down on Hernandez, and so from people over. But yeah, I mean, fucking nails to do that match. So props to that. Entertaining.
And you bring up a good point, Raven Effect, about Kid Ref. He's actually very well known for doing deathmatch style officiating. So I'm willing to bet, and I really haven't had a chance to catch up with him. I had to message him and find out, because I talk to him every now and again. But I'm willing to bet he's run into that situation before. This is probably not the first time he's actually seen that happen, because he's done a lot of crazy deathmatch stuff and is known for that work. And so anytime they have like death matches, they typically get him involved.
Gotcha. He's about as hardcore looking as it gets too. But
yeah, leave my boy alone. He's still my boy.
Yeah, man. Props to Kid Ref. So we go from one thing to another. No, I knew this happened because that's their 3 points. And they got together, so you can't have anything going on. So you got to cut to what was expected to be type material and all that. I mean, the other thing too was to Rosemary back on, not only get one of your biggest stars, but also a reminder, and then to Rosemary kind of a thing. Very mixed thoughts. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan by any. A lot of people liked it, and props to it. It wasn't for me, for the simple fact that was really special. And Ed Realm, whatever the fuck that actually means. I understand the Slayer part, but we Ali stabbing and hacking these fucking knife, and then she fucking going in the knife at one point.
Raven Effect. Raven Effect. Do you recognize the pattern here, buddy?
Out.
Your connection is not getting better.
I didn't like it. It's good to see Rosemary. The lightning shit was weird. It works for LU.
I think we lost him completely.
What do you just take it, dude?
Yeah, I think we did. Oh, he's back now. He's back now. Yeah, seriously, dude. The whole thing about the brevity thing, it's not for the next 2 minutes. It's in general. It's in general. Okay.
Just Just go. Just go.
Okay, so I didn't get to watch much of it live. I had to watch it later on. The reason was they were putting the ring back together, and they had like 20 people there, and one of them decided to stand like directly between me and the show of what the big screen in the background. So yeah, that was kind of the deal there. I watched it later. I love this kind of stuff. I think it's fantastic. I like difference. I like to be able to see something different in my show. I don't want to watch the same thing all the time. I love the X Division, but I would die if all the matches were the X Division. I love, storylines, but if you don't give me freaking X Division every now and again, I'm going to go crazy. So this is just a different realm. It's something to keep you engaged during that 2 hours. It's a long show, folks, to sit through for 2 hours. It makes it much different. Now, I just want to give a little follow-up. My buddy Chris got back to me, and he says he's obviously, done those types of matches before, but he's never been in a situation like that where the boards were even exposed, let alone have that problem. So, but as far as Ali and Su Yung is concerned, bottom line is Rosemary returned. And to give you an idea of how much of that I missed, the first time I was really able to get a good view of the screen, Rosemary was on it. So I didn't realize how far through that match had already gone before I was able to actually see much. I thought it was neat the way that they did it and the way that they ended it. Rosemary staying behind to fight Sue. I think it's a great way to reintroduce her without having to put her back in action. I think that she's hoping to probably come back sometime, after the first of the year. Hopefully not until April or May, but it will be before then, because that's how they do these things. And so what a way to be able to put her back on my television set at the biggest show of the year, or the second biggest show, depending, which one you want to say is bigger, but without having to put her at risk. And so that alone made this worth the Timmy Raven effect. But I kind of like this stuff. FK9, what do you think about the whole broken universe or undead realm, whatever they're calling it now?
Well, I did get to see part of this thing because there were clips online. I think they put the tail end of it on the YouTube page, the part where Rosemary returns. So I saw that, and just judging from what I saw, and I only saw the clip on the YouTube on the YouTube video. What I saw looked very, very cheaply done. It looked like they just set aside a corner of the arena they were in and just like hung up a few drapes and put a coffin in there and just shot the whole thing there in maybe one afternoon or something. I mean, the editing and the music was all in there, and obviously they did some work in Adobe After Effects to put in all the the Kamehameha stuff when Rosemary when they broke out the special effects and whatnot. So I mean, there was some production work put into there, but I mean the whole thing did look kind of low budget from what I saw. Now, what's bothering me about this is that you've got this LAX OGs thing that got super violent, where you're fearing for everybody's safety, and they're ripping the ring apart and doing all this crazy, sick, violent stuff, and then you go to something like this, where you're off in another universe and you're going into other dimensions and in like the undead realm, and the women are like shooting like force lightning at each other and shit. I was like, I don't know how these two different things fit together on the same show. It's like they belong on two separate. It's like they belong in two separate products, and I feel like not sure what the word I'm looking for is, but you need to have some kind of unified vision.
It feels disjointed to you, right? It feels disjointed.
Yeah. It's like those kind of shows give you the impression that this product doesn't really have an identity of its own. Like it's trying to take these elements from one product and these elements from another show and these elements from a third company and just kind of mashing them all together because those things work for those people. Let's try to copy that instead of just being Impact Wrestling. It's like the company doesn't know what its own identity is supposed to be, so it's trying to take elements from everybody else. And that's how I think you end up with two things that by all rights have no business being on the same show. It's very, to me, that transition is just awkward. And I was a big fan of the Broken Universe stuff, but just from what I saw, this, I don't know, it's like the charm has been lost with this. I think by the time they broke out the special effects with the force lightning and stuff, I'm like, you know what, they've gone too far with this. They've gone. This has gotten so bad shit insane that I can't even take it seriously. Not that I took the Broken Universe stuff seriously, but I was willing to suspend my disbelief because it was so entertaining. This just got too out there, and I think that's likely because JB is no longer producing these things because he's with WWE now. So I mean, whoever did produce this, I think it was a valiant attempt. I think they were hampered.
Jimmy Jacobs.
I think they were hampered by one, a lack of money, and two, just not being able to capture what JB captured.
Yeah, Jimmy Jacobs did that, and I think Jimmy Jacobs may have taken it a little further, and I think you make some really solid points too.
Yeah.
Now
like I said, I wasn't able to see the whole thing. This is just based on what I saw in the YouTube video.
The Chris Steele show's making a really good point too. He's saying that they should have had it play throughout the show, so little bits here and there, versus all at one time.
Yeah,
that would have been cool.
Yeah. Well, and here's a crazy suggestion that's maybe not so crazy. Next time they want to do one of these things, let Allie and Rosemary produce it. Because like I said, I promoted this thing for them. There's this Masters of the Multiverse web series that they've been doing on Allie's YouTube page. I promoted that the last time I was on here. Watch that show and then tell me they wouldn't be able to do a good job producing this shit, because that web show they do is honestly more entertaining than a lot of the stuff they do on Impact.
Raven Effect, you were chiming in, buddy.
Am I audible now?
I mean, you're a lower volume, and you're still breaking in and out a little bit, but it's hard to tell. It's usually when you go on your long soliloquies that after you talk for about 30 or 60 seconds, you really start to break up.
Oh, that's fucking great. The axe was way. Impact's supposed to have some realism to it, and underground, which is acceptable there. I'm happy Rosemary's back. Her and Stu is going to be fire. Work for me. Did I cut in or now?
We got that. We got that. You cut it in out a little bit, but because the way you were talking, it was a little bit easier to catch everything.
All right. I tried something different. So we're gonna march to the main event. Now this, I didn't think LAX and OG's fantastic world title match. Johnny Impact goes over. We know what Aries did, which I felt to me, Series 97. I mean, I'm ready to tune in. World title match delivered. It beat Aries versus Moose to Johnny. FK9, anything you want to say?
Just that how good a performer one is seems to be dwarfed in importance when compared to being on a reality show. Not to put out a WWE reference here, but WWE is doing an all-women's pay-per-view, which they're promoting as the first one ever, which is complete bullshit and everyone knows it. But they've got Nikki Bella facing Ronda Rousey, most likely in the main event, just because she's on because she's on some reality shows, and they think they can sell a pay-per-view based on that. It's the only reason why that match is happening, and it's likely well, not the only reason, but the main reason why Johnny Impact goes over here. And I'm not saying it shouldn't have happened, because I get it. The dude's on Survivor. You want to cash in on that, even though I don't think they've mentioned it on the show at all, which is weird. But yeah, I mean, I get it. Plus, I mean, if Aries is gone, I mean, if that was a shoot and he's really gone, I mean, you had to switch the title to somebody. And so in Johnny Impact is likely the, I guess the best choice right now. I don't know who he feuds with now if Aries is gone, at least for the time being. But publicity-wise, they are in dire need of publicity, so Johnny Impact as the champion might get them some of that, so I get it.
This was a good match. It was funny. You're watching some of these matches, and you get a lot of flyers. You get a lot of guys that were doing a lot of flying type moves. And these two guys can fly with the best of them, right? But it was interesting because when you shifted to the main event, they were really telling a story, and you could see as they were wrestling that they were telling a story. And I did read one article that said that they were, that they were shooting a little bit in the ring, right? And they were playing a little bit stiff. And I don't know whether they were or not. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. I think once you've seen, Eddie Edwards and Moose go back and forth with those chops, that's about as stiff as it gets, right? But they were telling a story. I think they told a fantastic story. And what was interesting was that there were a lot of Johnny Impact chants. And then, of course, the other side was Austin Aries. I was kind of in the middle, so I was chanting for both. But every single one of those chants was started by Taya. Okay? She was so over with the crowd, and she had such a huge impact on this match. Even before she took that, that fateful shot from Austin Aries. The match itself was great. Absolutely, loved the submission attempt by Austin Aries in the beginning. I thought that was just great. I mean, he really sold that he was, trying to make Impact tap out. It did not look like that was a typical professional wrestling loose move. It looked like he was really trying to choke him out. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't, of course, but he sold it extremely well, and Impact sold it extremely well. Now, the match was like over 20 minutes long. It was like 21 minutes long, which is longer than, they're twice as long as most of the other matches on the card. So they gave it plenty of time, which was great as well. A couple things here, though. First of all, this match ended very prematurely. I did not see the finish, and I was standing right underneath of it because Taya was down, and I decided I wanted to get a picture on my camera, and my phone was in, power saving mode. And I thought there was no way this match ended without Killer Kross and Moose getting involved. And Taya on the ground. I thought for sure she'd be standing when Johnny won. I mean, we all knew Johnny was going over. I mean, this is not a surprise. And then it was just, he went and he hit it and he pinned him. It's like, holy shit, match is over. Holy crap, that was quick. And I thought that was a big downer in this match. I felt like Killer Kross and Moose at ringside had no impact on this match whatsoever. Okay? Taya was at ringside, and she took that dive from Aries that we mentioned before, which it was nuts. I mean, you see her standing there, and she had been on the other side of the ring the whole time. She comes over our way, and she stands there for maybe 30 seconds or so, getting in position. And then Aries looks at her, and he just has this evil look on his face. He's like, I'm coming. And we're standing there going, holy shit, he's going to take her out. And it was like, there is just no fucking way that he's going to take her out. And then what's he do? He comes diving out of the ring. FK9, he dives out of the ring like a son of a bitch. He totally takes her out, just levels her. And then he gets up and he just has this evil grin on his face. Like he is just so happy with himself that he just took out this woman, right? Yeah. And of course, I've been playing into the faces and the heels all night long. And you'll see me in the background yelling, "You're a Aries, you're a piece of shit," and then Don Callis is going, "What a piece of trash," and I was like, that was a better way to say it, actually. but it was insane that he took her out. This is man on women violence, which has always been something that is frowned upon, and seeing him take her out, it blurs the lines in a ways that Impact Wrestling has never been willing to blur the lines before. B, look, it's wrestling. It's fake. So man on woman violence that's fake does nothing for me. I mean, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't bother me. It's just whatever. But I think it's something that we should do more of and we should get used to. We want to promote these women as being equals, so let them take some shots from the guys and get up after it. You know what I'm saying? But Taya was laying there motionless, not watching anything that went on as Johnny was winning the championship. And that surprised me as well. But all in all, this was a great main event. You knew these two guys were going to come. You knew they were going to tear down the house, and they did. Then Austin Aries starts flipping everybody off and leaves without selling the finish. And here we are talking about it.
Yeah, that dive that he did, at least watching it live, it was super unexpected. And just the way that he executed it, not only is that amazing athleticism, but it really added a lot to the match. Both with the build, the talk between the two, it's better. And you're fucking, better too. I mean, obviously, you. And I just feel this, shit, the end of that match, for me, overshadowed in a good, confusing way. It was similar at that point, had me just wondering what the fuck is going on.
Totally, and they need to do that every week on the show. Every week on the show. Give us a reason to tune back in next week. I mean, let's face it, FK9. Are you excited to watch Impact this week? To see the fallout?
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe I would be a little more if I'd read the spoilers. If I hadn't read the spoilers. So I kind of know what's going to happen. I mean, an angle like that, if it was indeed an angle to go out on, that's a hook. And that's something that I don't feel like they've been doing that's something I don't feel like they've been doing a good job of lately, is that they don't really have a compelling hooks to lead you into the next week. I mean, you should always end a show where the fans are clamoring, they can't wait for the next show because they have to see what happens next. And that's something they struggle with, especially lately. It's like they end a show and it's like, well, okay, that show existed. But you're not really excited to see what happens next. You should be chomping at the bit to see the next chapter in the story. And when you see the Bound for Glory going off the air like this, you're wondering, what the hell's going on with Austin Aries? Is this a shoot? Is this a work? I don't know. I got to see what happens on Thursday to see how they resolve this, or if Aries shows up, or if they address the situation. I'm hoping there will be some kind of story, and if they talk about it, it was probably a work, or at least a work shoot. But whether it was a shoot, whether it was a work, here we are talking about it. A lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people are interested to see what happens next. And if it was a shoot, I think they can still turn this to their advantage, because work or shoot, work, shoot, whatever, it did generate some interest, and they can use that if they're smart about it.
I mean, we still don't know if it's a work or a shoot for sure. Convinced, but they still don't know for sure. And I'll be honest, I don't think Bound for Glory was really, at least on TV, that good. I thought it was okay, pretty good, better than decent. But moment made the pay-per-view that much better, and it almost away from me. And Impact Dude says they need to do that every week, on the show. I get what you mean for, like, you want a reason to tune back in, but they can't do the show because what they're gonna feel like that fucking feels that can't be matched, and that's why they have something super well they're doing and hot and so good that if they can pull this off perfectly, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do still to pull it off amazing. Is it a work? Is it a shoot? What's important right now is people are talking about Impact Wrestling again, and people need to start tuning back into Impact Wrestling. They have made some momentum, whether it's positive or not, we don't know, okay? But they have made some momentum, and they have to keep the momentum. They got to put on a quality product every week, and for God's sakes, folks, give us a hook. Give us a reason to go, what happened? In FK9, I've read the spoilers too, but I haven't heard how they necessarily address this, and I don't think that we will from the spoilers. So I think we still have to tune in to see how this particular situation is going to be handled. But it's definitely a reason to talk about Impact Wrestling. It's a reason to watch Impact Wrestling. That's what they really need. They really need a reason to watch Impact Wrestling. I said going into this that they needed to hit a home run. In reality, this was a great show, but maybe they needed a grand slam. Do you know what I'm saying? I think they needed to make a splash. I don't think that they did. So I thought the show was great. I don't really have anything negative to say about the show, to be brutally honest with you. But I felt like that wasn't good enough because the position they put themselves in from years and years and years of mismanagement. I mean, let's face it, Dixie just annihilated the thing, and now they've had to cut every corner just to try to get themselves back into a viable position. Okay, and now we're feeling the toll of them putting the business into a viable position. But long story short is that they need to create some buzz. They need to make that buzz positive. They need to sustain it. But more importantly, they need to make sure that the fans understand that they're not going to screw them. They need to do right by the fans. So quit claiming and teasing you're going to get Jericho if you're not going to do it. It's not helping you out with the fans.
Yeah, and if we could talk about Thursday for a minute, they had a lot of buzz coming out of Slammiversary. Slammiversary was a great show. I mean, everybody was talking about how great that show was. One of the best pay-per-views of the year, blah, blah, blah. And then the following Thursday, you walk in, you sit down, you turn on Impact, and the whole show is a dud. They had some momentum coming out of Slammiversary, and then they shit the bed on the first following Impact. And I've said this before, but what that episode was lacking, that Impact, was a big angle, some kind of big event or angle to keep that momentum going, and they didn't have anything like that. Now, coming out of Bound for Glory, all told, people are saying really good show. People are really happy with it. Maybe not as good as Slammiversary. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen it yet, but there was a lot of positive, word of mouth, and people are talking about the Aries thing, and so they've got some momentum coming out of Bound for Glory. It's very important that they not
say, especially balls so bad that night after Slammiversary when they finally had that momentum. I mean, you have Santino Marella getting the best of Aries on top of it. And what I want to say too, they go into Bound for those shows with literally no momentum. So from the most they've had in 5 years or more. Dude, it was not a home run. They needed a slam home run, and I think they gave us a pretty decent show at best. But I do feel like they may have hit a home run angle. I don't think this show was as good as but this era, and it's they may have fucking struck gold with this. If I'm in charge, or shoot, I mentioned Austin Aries one time on one show, and I shut the fuck up. That way, it's addressed one way or another. Leave it at that, and it gets people wondering more.
See, and I think that I would.
The only other thing.
I think that I would show them. I would show him flipping off Don and Ed. I think I would have it from a camera angle that was on the other side of the ring, so we could actually see it, right? Because he did it against the hard into the hard camera, and so you really couldn't see Don and Ed in it.
Impact, dude, what do you think?
Well, I'm not FK9. Do I think he's the right guy to take over? I mean, it's so hard to say. They don't really have that true main eventer, right? The closest they got is Eli Drake, and it's not Eli Drake's time right now. It's very clear. No idea what they're doing with Eli Drake. Really thought they were going to feed him Jericho, and turned out to be Ellsworth. Massive disappointment. Outside of that, I mean, it's just going to be Pentagon. You're going to flip it to Pentagon? Who are you flipping it to? So I don't have a problem with them flipping it to Johnny Impact. I think Johnny Impact's a guy that needs and deserves a shot with the title at some point. He's been great in Impact Wrestling. Whether or not him as a face is going to lift the company to new heights, I don't know. I do know he's on Survivor. and I don't watch Survivor, but I did check out a little bit of it, right? And he comes off as being a real cool, chill guy. So maybe that's part of the reason they're playing it in that way. I think his best bet is to keep his wife nearby, let her come in the ring with him and be his valet, because she brings in energy that is almost I hate to use the word toxic, but in a very good way, right? She brings up she's just a spitfire of energy towards her husband. It's all positive, and I think that'll help his character through it. So I do think he's a little weak on the character, but who else are you gonna give it to? Who else is a face? Eddie Edwards wasn't even really a face a couple weeks ago. Who's a face that's gonna take it from the heel? I think it has to be him by default, and I think he could be a very good world champion. Not the build I would give him though. Or you just give it to Cage.
Okay, no need to.
Cage would work, but Cage would just crush Aries.
I feel like Cage is kind of in the same boat with Johnny, whereas they've got every appeal going for him, but like character-wise, it's something not, for either one right now, and I've kind of wanted both to turn heel. Let's see what Survivor get. They didn't have any other. Jericho's not coming in, but I almost feel like maybe if we switch Johnny to heel and Eli to face, that's the way to go right now. I don't know. FK9, did you have any thoughts on this?
No, dude kind of covered it, really. I think in the short term, they can roll with Johnny Impact as world champion because, one, he's going to get the publicity, and two, he's really the only guy that they can put the belt on at the moment. They don't have a lot of other options. Eli Drake needs to be rebuilt. Moose is still feuding with Eddie Edwards. Brian Cage maybe in the future, but he's not there yet. Killer Cross, same thing. So who else is there really? In the short term, I think Johnny works. Long term is a different story. I think they're gonna have to do some character surgery on him at some point if they want him to be a long term champion. And I think, like Dude said, for starters, keep his wife with him because she's gonna help with the personality side of things, and maybe have her talk for him. Maybe have her help him out with promos and stuff. Because I think the more he talks for himself, the worse this is going to go for him. Unless they do the heel turn. I've been told his promos are better when he's a heel. I haven't seen that myself yet, but that's what I've heard. So yeah, short term, I think he's fine. Just keep his wife with him and keep his promos short and sweet.
All right, there it is. At least dude looks like a fucking $1 billion. So it is what it is. The reign of Johnny happens. We'll see how things go from there. This show's been long as shit. I apologize for audio issues. Anyone got anything to chime in before we send it out?
Nah, man. I think let's send him home, buddy. Take it home. Bring it home.
All right. So look, next time I'm on, hopefully I will sound better. FK9, we've already talked. We want more FK9 on you. So look, for the RAV, the Impact Dude, the star of Bound for Glory 2018, and the killer of himself, Heelcast out. Check it out on Impact Asylum. We out.